Check. 1, 2, 3. Check, check. 1, 2, 3.
I'd like to call this meeting on Thursday, December 5th, 2024, to order. Dr. Conrad, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence?
Of course, I'd like to ask everyone to stand. Good evening. Okay, we'll just start off with the pledge, and then afterwards, just take a couple of minutes thinking about loved ones for a moment of silence. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everybody could be seated. Mrs. Stuff, could we have roll call, please? Norm Berger.
Here.
Robert Clark.
Here.
Michael Galler.
Here.
John Gazitsky.
Here.
Sue Kreski. Brian O'Keefe.
Present.
Diane Surface.
Present.
Matthew Walters.
Here.
Melanie Zepp.
Here.
Tonight we are celebrating our December Students of the Month, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Pompisello to kick this off.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Very proud to present the Students of the Month, and like I say every time, parents, thank you so much for your partnership with PVE and all the schools. Because without the parent support, there's no way the kids tonight are getting these awards. All right, it's a 50-50 partnership. So we're going to start off right away. I have Miss Schuster, kindergarten teacher, come on up, and can I have the family of Maripaula Morales Torres to please come up to be honored, and Mr. Rodriguez, please come up and help me out here.
So don't mind me, I was asked last minute to come and translate, so I'm going to do it in Spanish for the family. Good evening.
Where would you like the family?
Where do you want them to stand?
Okay.
Buenas noches. Yo soy uno de los principales aquí en el distrito de Pleasant Valley y estoy hablando de parte de Mr. Pompisello y la maestra Schuster de la Escuela Independiente. Ser estudiante del mes es un certificado muy orgulloso y esto no pasa sin el trabajo tuyo y sin el apoyo tuyo. ¿Ok? Los maestros dijeron que Maripaula siempre viene a clase con un sonrisa que brilla en el salón. Siempre tiene una actitud positiva, una buena amiga, y cuando le preguntaron a todos los estudiantes quién será el estudiante del mes, todo el mundo dijeron Maripaula. ¿Ok? Siempre está siguiendo las reglas en el salón, haciendo sus asignaciones, haciendo preguntas y siempre aquí buscando ayuda, siempre ayudan los maestros en el salón. Así que, pero de verdad, felicidades. Y esto no es posible sin usted en la casa, porque todos sabemos que todo empieza en la casa. Y felicidades. Muy bien. We'll have it in English too.
It is a pleasure to be here tonight to represent Mary Paula Morales Torres as the Kindergarten Student of the Month. Mary Paula is an exceptional student. She just recently moved to our area and spoke no English, but because of her hard work and desire to learn, she is mastering every single kindergarten skill that was taught so far to date. Each day, Mary Paula comes to class with a beaming smile on her face and eager to learn. She is kind, polite, hardworking, helpful, always has a positive attitude, is a good friend, and is a wonderful role model for other students. Each month, I ask my students to nominate a classmate that they think would be the next student of the month, and almost every single child in the class nominated Mary Paula. She is always happy and follows all directions. She's a pleasure to work with and is wonderful to watch her grow. I am blessed to have Mary Paula in my class. I am proud to call her my student, and I am confident she will achieve remarkable things in the future.
All right, next for our first grade student of the month, we have Miss Anderton come on up to present Sherilyn Aguayo and the whole family. Come on up, guys. Congratulations.
Good evening. Sherilyn, all of your teachers are also very proud of you for many reasons. The biggest reason of all would be the respect you have towards others. You treat everyone with great kindness. In the classroom, you are inquisitive and not afraid to take chances, especially when learning new things. Sherilyn is a bilingual student who goes above and beyond to help her classmates, especially those classmates who need a little extra help because they are just learning to speak our language. Sherilyn includes everyone when working together in conversation or in play. She is not one to enjoy being in the spotlight and becomes very shy when she is praised. But Sherilyn, you deserve this. Thank you for working hard daily, helping others, and for treating people the way they should be treated. May you continue to love the gift of learning, and as an unknown author once stated, your education is a dress rehearsal for the future that is yours to design.
All right, I have one more second grade teacher, Miss Gordon, come on up. And can I have Alexander Fleming and the whole family come on up to be honored?
Good evening. I am pleased to introduce to you the second grade student of the month, Alex Fleming. In addition to being an exceptional student, Alex volunteers as a tutor for first graders during homeroom every day. Alex embodies the characteristics that we all want to have. He is kind, compassionate, responsible, trustworthy, and hardworking. I am very fortunate to have Alex in our class this year, and I am proud to have him represent the future of Pleasant Valley. Congratulations to you, Alex, and to your parents. You truly deserve this award.
So very proud of my PVE kids. They're doing amazing things. Good luck, other schools. Well, I do have the cutest. I think I win that award. I do have two highlights really quick for PVE. Friday, December 13th, we have our Toys for Tots parade down at school from 9:45 in the morning until about 10:15. Looking forward to that. It's always a great, and what's so cool about that event, every single toy stays in Monroe County. So I love that. And the other one is very proud of my staff. We had 14 turkeys go to families in need right before Thanksgiving. So they had, I got some feedback from the parents. Just a great community giving back. So thank you for that. And PVI and Miss Albright, it's all you.
All right, good evening. I'm very happy to be here tonight to talk about our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students of the month for PVI. We are going to kick it off in 3rd grade, and I have Mrs. Lemoyne here to present the student of the month for 3rd grade, Charlotte Blendetto.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to be here tonight to introduce our 3rd grade student of the month, Charlotte Blendetto. Charlotte demonstrates excellent character and responsibility. She works extremely hard and willingly accepts new challenges. Charlotte reflects upon her work and revisits her mistakes, using them as an opportunity to learn and to grow. Charlotte is an inspiration to her peers and a true pleasure to have in my class. We are PVI proud of you, Charlotte.
Okay, next up for fourth grade, Mrs. Siptroth is here to present our fourth grade Student of the Month, Riley Rufo.
Good evening. It is my sincere pleasure to be here tonight to honor Riley Rufo as Student of the Month. Riley was an obvious choice for many reasons, one of them being the effort she puts forth in everything she does in the classroom and beyond. In addition to being a hardworking honor roll student, Riley participates in chorus, band, Girls on the Run, soccer, lacrosse, and I've probably missed a few. In all of these activities, you can count on Riley to be prepared, organized, actively involved, and to give it her all. While her academic and extracurricular achievements are many, it is her kind heart and willingness to help others that impresses me most. With or without being asked, you can rest assured that Riley will step up to help a classmate, friend, or teacher when she sees one in need. She does this with no expectations of anything in return. Lastly, Riley's positive attitude and sense of humor make every day that much brighter. I'm fortunate to be her teacher and look forward to spending the remainder of the year watching her grow and learn, and can't wait to see what amazing things she does in the future. Congratulations, Riley and family, and keep up the great work. Thank you.
And next up, I present Mrs. Serba, who is here to present our fifth grade Student of the Month, Roslyn Romano.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Congratulations to Roslyn Romano, our fifth grade Student of the Month. It is my absolute honor to speak on the exceptional qualities that make Roslyn an amazing student. She's worth recognizing. When Miss Albright asked me to speak, I knew I could write a book on how wonderful she is. However, I promised to keep it short and sweet. Roslyn has a drive for learning that is evident in everything she does. It is not uncommon for her to go above and beyond requirements to reach her own personal level of success. She will fight for her learning until she reaches that goal, and then some. Her consistent effort in class and commitment to excellence in her schoolwork is truly admirable. Not only does she work hard academically, but Roslyn also has a keen awareness of others. She is a shining example of a positive student, always bringing cheerful attitude and her willingness to help. I chose Roslyn this month because each day she demonstrates exceptional leadership qualities that by actively supporting her classmates, volunteering to assist others, and being a positive role model. She does all of this with a kind heart, soft personality, and lots of smiles. You would never know if Roslyn was having a bad day because she travels throughout school with her smile and positive attitude. It is absolutely infectious. We all can agree that the world needs more Rosies. Roslyn is a natural leader and team player with her peers. Watching her in action is always comforting because we all know that with Roslyn, the team is in safe hands. Whatever job is present, it will get accomplished because of her leadership. So, Roslyn, thank you for all of your contributions to our classroom community. We appreciate you. I am looking forward to watching you grow in whatever direction your dreams take you. Watch out, world. This girl is going places. Thank you.
All right, and then just a little spotlight. We wanted to highlight our upcoming annual tree lighting event and chorus concert on December 12th. Everybody's been working really hard to put it together. We're very excited to see it, and hopefully we have a really great turnout, so we will see you there. And now, Mr. McCutcheon.
Thank you, Mrs. Albright. It's a pleasure to be here tonight representing the middle school to introduce our Students of the Month, and we'll begin with 6th grade. I'd like to invite the family of Cassidy Tomczyk to come on up and the teacher who nominated her, Mr. Whiteford.
Good evening. It was without a doubt an easy choice this month to make. Cassidy has shown hard work throughout this year. She tries her best on every single assignment she does. She goes above and beyond on every assignment she does. Consistently, she is working on something in the classroom. No matter if it's a free moment, a homeroom time, end of the day, she is always working on some assignment that she has to complete. And that assignment could be months away that she has to complete. She's ahead of time on anything. She's a wonderful student. She's extremely nice to talk to, very polite, works hard on everything. I couldn't ask for a better student to have in class. I wish I had a full class of kids like Cassidy. So congratulations, you truly deserve this. You are somebody that we will see and hear about throughout the years to come while you're in Pleasant Valley and into the future. No doubt you have a bright future ahead of you. Thank you.
Okay, and for our 7th grade student of the month, I'd like to call up Brady Fleming and family, nominated by Megan Gower. Wait, you guys were up here already. Hold on.
Second time up here. You guys are definitely a star family tonight. So I'm here as Brady's 7th grade science teacher to celebrate his accomplishments in the classroom, in and out of it, as our student of the month for December. Almost forgot what month we're in. I'm so excited. His quiet nature belies a student full of life and humor. He is always willing to take responsibility for himself while still taking the time to help out his friends along the way. His grades are excellent, and his respectfulness shines through to every teacher and student he meets. A little bit goofy, a lot of intelligence, and even more personality that makes him stand out above the others. He is a great student to have to represent our 7th grade Student of the Month, and I'm proud, a little selfishly, because he's awesome, that he's with my team this year. A big shout out to his parents and the people in his life who support him. He is truly an excellent student.
Okay, and for 8th grade, we have Mr. Avinash Satur. Avi, come on up with your family, please, sir. I was given specific instructions by Mrs. Snyder, who wanted to be here, Avi. She had a family emergency. So she said, Ms. Fields, I'm gonna type this nice and large so you can read it. I'm gonna follow along. I hope I don't digress, but Avi, you're a great kid, and I'm honored and pleased to see that you're standing here with us today. Avi is a wonderful student selected by the 8V team. He is hardworking and advocates for himself when needed. He isn't afraid to ask questions, try new things, and being wrong doesn't discourage him from trying again. Avi is a social person. Yet, when it's time to buckle down and get to work, he's able to do it seamlessly. He greets us with a smile, treats his classmates with respect, and brings new ideas and creativity to our classrooms. So your whole team feels this way about you, Avi. Well done, sir. Avi, this is your team, we are glad to have you on our team this year, and I'm glad you're part of the middle school. Keep it up. Thank you, parents, for your guidance, support, and everything, encouragement of this side.
Congratulations once again to our middle school students and families. It was a doubleheader for the Flemings tonight, but I do just want to pause for a moment and pay tribute to the families, because we can't do what we do without you. It starts at home, and thank you. We have great families in our community, and you allow us to do what it is that we do here. A quick spotlight for the middle school. I just would like to invite everyone to come on out to support our band and chorus program. Next week, we have our winter chorus concert and our winter band concert. I know Mrs. Michaels and Mrs. Shoemaker work extremely hard, and we're grateful for all their hard work, and we hope to see you next week at our concerts. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Boylan.
Good evening, Dr. Conrad and the school board. It is my honor to introduce the high school students of the month. 9th grade, we have Isabella London. Isabella will be spoken about from Mr. Masiello.
Hey, Mira. Good evening, Pleasant Valley community. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. It's with great pleasure that I have nominated Miss Isabella London for the Student of the Month Award. Isabella was a student of mine at PVE when she was a kindergarten student, a 1st grade student, and a 3rd grade student. I still remember as a kindergarten student, her walking into the gym at the end of the day, every 11th period, or not every day, but 11th period with her backpack on since it was the last class of the day. And then when I checked my class rosters back in, I think it was the 2nd week of August, and I saw Isabella's name on one of my class rosters, I was very happy that I would have the opportunity to work with a student who I always had great admiration for. Isabella is one of the kindest, most respectful students I've ever had. She'll do anything that is asked of her, and she'll try her best at any task. Whether it's in the gymnasium or the health room, you're always going to get 100% out of Miss London. Speaking of 100%, Isabella's off to a fantastic start in her high school career. She currently maintains a 4.0 grade point average. As an 8th grader, she received the President's Award for highest average in her class. Any class with Isabella is automatically better. She's an all-star student who makes everybody around her better. She makes classmates better, she makes me better, and in my opinion, that's what PV Pride is all about. One of the amazing qualities that sticks out in regards to Isabella is her ability to be a go-getter and take the initiative on get things done. I wish I'd see more of that in my career. For example, a few weeks back, Isabella missed a class due to a meeting. She came to me and she asked to make up the work. I said, no worries, Isabella, you have time, make it up tomorrow in class. It's not a big deal at all. Isabella just went ahead and did it on her own. It was there the next day. Although I had no issue giving her that time, it did make my job easier. So thank you, Isabella. I just want to take a moment and thank a few individuals. First, whoever put Isabella on my schedule for my class roster, thank you. If I'm back here next year, please add her to one of my class rosters again. Second, thank you to Isabella's parents for raising an amazing young lady. You both have a lot to be proud of. The last thing I want to say to you, Isabella, and I'm glad I get a chance to say this in front of Mom and Dad, you're an outstanding student. You have a wonderful future ahead of you, and you're an incredible person, and you have so much to offer this world. Congratulations.
Our 10th grade student of the month is Peyton McGinnis. Peyton was nominated by Miss Vallant.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ms. Valand, and I am a teacher here at the high school. I'm honored to say that I nominated Peyton McGinnis for Student of the Month, as well as Mr. Stroll, her math teacher. Mr. Stroll and I share a lot of common thoughts, I can tell you that. So I'm also speaking on his behalf as well, because he could not make it here tonight. All right. Peyton is a role model student who demonstrates PV pride on a daily basis. It is truly a privilege to have her in class. As a matter of fact, Peyton, I'm not going to lie, I bragged to some of your former and current teachers about how I was coming tonight to present this award. And you know what they all said? Oh, that's awesome. She's so great. I love her. So see, that smile says it all. They know. She's an active participant who is also respectful, and class would never be the same without her. Peyton always arrives to class on time, organized and motivated to learn. She always possesses a positive attitude and sets goals for herself to achieve. Anyone can set a goal or make a plan, but the difference is that Peyton executes the plan and gets the job done, which is what makes her so successful. I met Peyton last year in 9th grade when she first came to the high school, and this has always been the case. Peyton strives to continue to better herself, even though she is already an honor roll student. She has perfect attendance and has never been a behavior issue. Peyton makes all of her achievements seem so effortless, and she does all of this hard work wearing a contagious ear-to-ear smile that will brighten any room, in case you haven't noticed. There is no doubt in my mind that Peyton will continue to be a hard worker and keep striving to do her best to be successful in the future. Peyton, please keep reaching for the stars and be yourself, because you are truly amazing. With that radiant smile you have, congratulations on receiving Student of the Month. You truly deserve this award. And I want to thank your parents for being so supportive and involved in your education. Thank you.
Our 11th grade Student of the Month is Mason Ostrich, and to speak on his behalf is Ms. Schimminger. So Mason actually could not be here tonight. One cool thing that he did today, he's actually an ambassador for the Children's Miracle Network, and he was actually on the radio today, which is pretty cool. And he's actually at that event tonight speaking to students. So I'm going to speak on his behalf. Mason's positive attitude, sense of humor, and love for school is absolutely amazing. Although we could do without his loud and proud love of Mondays, it's been a privilege to watch Mason navigate through what life throws at him and still shows us every day he's ready to learn. The resilience and strength that Mason exhibits is a force to be reckoned with, and it's an honor to continue to watch Mason grow into his young adulthood as he's preparing to transition into his senior year. Mason is a prime example of a student who demonstrates bear pride, and we should all be proud. And now for our 12th grade Student of the Month. It's one of my favorites, Mallory Garrity. Mallory was nominated by 2 teachers. One, we have Officer Robert Mahady and one of our guidance counselors, Ms. Peyton Storms. Mr. Officer Mahady will be speaking on her behalf.
Hi, Mallory. Good evening. My name is Rob Mahady, and as you know, I'm one of the school police officers, and I'm honored to speak on behalf of Mallory tonight. And I've nominated her for Student of the Month. During this school day, this building, obviously I'm not one of her teachers, but this building becomes a bit of a city in and of itself. It's walking students, cafeteria, learning, and it's not just about learning, it's also about how to treat each other. On one particular day, just a couple weeks ago, I had to write this down to stay on track and also not be emotional about it, but we had an incident with speaking with an administrator and another student, and it was a roller coaster of emotions. And Mallory, if you know Mallory, unsolicited, shows up at the perfect time. She spoke this we stepped back a little bit. We heard her speak. She asked the student if he was okay, asked what she could do for him, and listened. He spoke, she listened. He spoke, she listened. It was beautiful. And again, perfect timing. She assured him things would be okay and expressed to trust in her and his friend to trust in himself as well. I swear, you couldn't have made this up. She says, "You're probably worrying about something that didn't even happen yet." And we've all done that. So for Mallory to have said this, I couldn't believe it. It was, I want to step back. I told you, Mallory, that day, you should be a counselor. It was amazing. So since then, I particularly watched more, and I just kept seeing Mallory. This wasn't just one day. I was just privileged to witness it that day. She does this on a regular basis. She speaks to children, speaks to other classmates. 99% of the time, she has a kind word first. She doesn't have to hear it first. And that's an excellent trait. Mallory embodies the values that we hope to see in our students. And it's a privilege to work with you. Mallory deserves this recognition as Student of the Month, and I'm privileged to have the opportunity to speak on her behalf. So thank you. They're a direct reflection of you.
Congratulations again to our high school Students of the Month. So 2 spotlights we want to showcase for the high school. I want to give a big PV shout out to our drama students for their very funny production of Get Smart. We hope everybody saw it. It was absolutely amazing. Another shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Mulligan and Mrs. Moores for the excellent production from them being behind the scenes. And the other one is next week, we have a couple big things going on in the high school. We have on December 10th, we have our chorus concert. And then on December 12th, we have our art showcase, followed by our band concert. So we're hoping to see everybody out there. It starts at the chorus concert 7 o'clock on the 10th. And then on the 12th, we have our art show is going to be from 6:30 to 7, followed by our band concert. So again, big things happening at the high school. Thank you. And next up is going to be our Bears Academy.
I'm going to be the quickest tonight. We actually have our building highlights, which are coming up soon. Bears Academy will be presenting our Student of the Quarter at our next meeting in January. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of the December Students of the Month. I believe they're taking pictures out in the lobby. If the parents and the students, teachers, and principals want to go out there for the pictures, you can come back for our regular board meeting if you would like. Okay, we'll move forward with the meeting. I'm now going to read the notice of the reorganization meeting for December 5th, 2024. Reorganization meeting of the Pleasant Valley School District shall be held Thursday, December 5th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Pleasant Valley High School Auditorium. This meeting was scheduled and approved at the December 7th, 2023 school board meeting. At this time, we will accept public comment on board reorganization meeting agenda items only. It'll only include items 1 through 14 on the agenda at this time. You can come to the podium, state your name, place of residence, and there's a 3-minute limit.
Jenna Rudolph, Chestnut Hill Township. I'm here tonight to talk about the reorganization of the board. Current policy allows board members to hold the office of president, vice president, and treasurer for only 2 terms, equivalent to 2 years consecutively. Yet our current board president is on her 3rd consecutive term and most likely seeking a 4th. Let's talk term limits. Why does a system of government have them? Well, to avoid the age-old statement, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And if you ask almost anyone in this community after the last board meeting and the sneaky agendas, they would most definitely say that there is corruption among the officers of this Board of Education. At the last meeting, you, Dr. Conrad, mentioned Montemuro versus Jim Thorpe. You stated that the case protected Board of Education members from being removed from their position. What you failed to explain to the community is that Mr. Montemuro was elected board president and then removed from that office without his knowledge and without following protocol. The ruling does not suggest unlimited terms, nor does it permit officers to hold them. It simply states that a Board of Education cannot remove elected officials from a position without prior notice. Your twisting of that court case last week was disgusting as it relied on your believed ignorance of the community. Excuse me. You lied and tried to trick us. Elected officials often forget that they are representatives of a larger population and of a community. Many decisions of this Board of Education have done nothing but wreak havoc on our children, our teachers, and our community. We have lost teachers mid-year. We have lost experienced administrators, only to have them replaced by horribly inept and inexperienced ones. You have voted to give massive increases in pay to those inexperienced administrators as well. You further have increased the number of them to an ungodly amount. Clearly, the current officers on this board have questionable morals, and others who might influence better decisions are stomped into silence. Furthermore, I remind you and the rest of the community of the grand jury report not so long ago. The current board president, Sue Kresge, was involved in those reports of nepotism, retaliation, and abuse of power, and still sits at that table. She has held an officer position for way too long, and her elected position for even longer. Keeping her in the president's seat will only put us back there and drive this district further into the black hole it is currently careening down. Finally, 5 years ago, I stood before you in this very same room as a faculty member. I read a portion of a speech from our then association president begging you to negotiate with us, begging you to talk to us. 5 years ago, the teachers union almost went on strike, and the woman who sits in the president's seat then sits there now. You want to talk about term limits? That is why we need them. Thank you.
Good evening. Denise Hopley, Chestnut Hill Township. Policies for reorganization. Policy change to eliminate term limits for board officers must have a clearly defined purpose that serves the community's interests and cannot be taken lightly.
See, that's not an agenda item for the reorganization meeting.
It's 8, 9, and 10. Re-election of the board.
Well, if you're speaking
Officers.
about the election this evening, yes, but the policy is not up in the reorganization meeting.
Excuse me?
Policy is not up or for consideration in the reorganization meeting.
Is your agenda out of order, by the way? From last week to this week, it changed. So
No.
before that, it was that the agenda was accepted and we were able to talk, but now I see it's ahead of it. So I should be able to talk about the other ones, or you're going to object every single one?
This is a specific statutory meeting to reorganize the board. There is another public comment section after reorganization about the agenda itself.
Didn't you just say it was about the agendas 1 through 14? Mrs. Smale just said it was items 1 through 14 when she introduced it. She said 1 through 14.
1 through 14 on the reorganization of the board. So what specific item are you?
So we just had another community member speak about the presidency. So why am I not allowed to talk about officers? She just said the same thing.
Ma'am, if you are talking about officers, by all means, but we're not talking about a policy. Policies are not up for consideration in this section of the agenda.
So the words say officers and candidates in my statements. Am I allowed to continue?
Proceed, and we'll hear what you say.
Thank you. So do I start over with one, and am I getting my time back? Are we starting over?
We're at about 50 seconds, so you have about 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
No, I need my 50 seconds back because we were discussing this. So I do ask for my time back.
Ma'am, you were at 50 seconds. You have 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Go ahead.
So we demand concrete evidence showing why other candidates are not more qualified to serve as a board officer. The board has a critical responsibility to represent the community's interests. It is essential board officers rotate in accordance with community elections for new boards to ensure proper representation. Communication and transparency are not negotiable principles for our community. The board president must ensure that the community committee and the officers meet regularly, guaranteeing ample opportunities for community input regarding this policy. Excuse me, strike that. Open dialogue with the community is essential to address many questions surrounding the candidacies and the officerships. The issue is not just concerning, it highlights significant loopholes that undermine election process. It's hard to ignore the parallels to a rigged election. Most board members appear to already know who the president will be or the officers, which is deeply troubling. The outcome feels predetermined. We must question what is driving and changing the board officers. Why now? It's critical to know the discussions that are behind in the executive session, according to the policy, strike that, according to the officer elections occurring during executive sessions. Again, why now? Why are the stakeholders being excluded with this important change, and why now? Open the dialogue with the community could eliminate many of these questions. Term limits are essential. We look forward to term limits, and they are necessary.
Okay, seeing no one else, the public comment on this section is closed. It is time to take nominations for a temporary board president. I will now take nominations for the election of the temporary president.
Diane Surface.
Second. Let's clarify, we will only need a single nomination to put an individual in consideration.
Do we have any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, the nominations are closed. As the nominations are closed and Mrs. Surface is the only candidate nominated, I move for Mrs. Surface's election by acclamation for the position of temporary board president. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The temporary president, Mrs. Surface, you may take over from this point forward.
Caught a little off guard. Election of officers following nominations. Be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of Pleasant Valley School District approve the election of a temporary board president. This term expires December 5th of 2024. So I'm calling now for a nomination for the election of the board president.
I nominate Mike Galler.
I respectfully decline and nominate Ryan O'Keefe.
I too respectfully decline and nominate John Giziski.
Accept.
Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Sue Kresge.
Okay, we will now take a roll call vote.
Let's first let's get a motion to close nominations.
Okay, we'll close the motion for nominations.
Is there a motion
Any
and a
other?
second?
I motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, very good. Now we have two names in consideration. This being Thursday, this is my fourth day of reorganization, so I am on top of these. Usually what we do when we have two names is a roll call, and then the individuals, when it's your turn, you speak the name of the person you're voting for. It's probably the easiest way to do it.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Norm Berger,
Sue Kresge.
Robert Clark,
Sue Kresge.
Michael Galler,
John Gasecki.
I'm sorry. John Gazitsky,
Myself.
Sue Kresge, Ryan O'Keefe,
John Gizeski.
Diane Surface,
Sue Kresge.
Matthew Walters,
Sue Kresge.
Melanie Zip.
Sue Kresge.
5 for Sue.
I want to thank my fellow board members for their support, and I will be making some comments at the end of the meeting. At this time, could I have nominations for the election of a board vice president?
Nominate Mike Aller.
I respectfully decline and nominate Ryan O'Keefe.
Unfortunately, at this time, I have to respect the decline. Maybe next year I can, when workload lightens up, I can take that on, but not right now.
Nominate myself.
I'd like to nominate Matt Walters. Oh, I'm sorry, I could do that, don't I? Are there any other nominations? Could I have a motion to close nominations?
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close nominations. All in favor?
Aye.
Maybe I'm stupid, but I.
Excuse me.
Only 8 school board members. Why are there 11 up there?
Excuse me, sir. Sir.
You're out of order.
You're out.
I don't really care. I want to know why are there 11 of you when I was told there's only 8 school board members?
There is. Raise your hand if you're a school board member. Count them. One is on the phone. One is on the phone.
Okay.
Sick and on the phone.
What does that have to do?
She's a board member. You asked.
Okay, sir. We need to continue our meeting, please. Okay, we closed nominations. Did I call for the vote? All those, I think I did. Okay. Okay, could we have roll call? Again, I asked board members to state the candidate that you would like to vote for.
Norm Berger,
Matt Walters.
Robert Clark,
Matt Walters.
Michael Galler,
Matt Walters.
John Gazitsky,
Matt Walters.
Sue Kresge,
Matt Walters.
Ryan O'Keefe,
Matthew Walters.
Diane Surface,
Matt Walters.
Matthew Walters,
Abstain.
Melanie Zip.
Matt Walters.
Pardon the interruption. Board members, if you could please speak into your microphones when you're doing this. We're having a hard time hearing over here. Thank you.
Is there someone in particular or everybody?
It's just in general. If
Okay.
everyone could speak a little clearer and in the microphone so we can record it properly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 11, MCTI Joint Operating Committee, MCTI Authority Representative, and PSBA Liaison, and PSBA Voting Delegates. First one is MCTI JOC Representative. It's a 3-year term. These are appointments. I would like to stay if everyone's okay with that as a JOC member. The JOC alternates, we have always considered the rest of the board as JOC alternates, so I would like to continue that. MCTI Authority, unfortunately, there was a passing of our previous representative, Leon Bartlett, so we do need to have a replacement for him. Is that an appointment or is that a vote? Do we?
I think it may depend on the articles within
Yeah, I know,
with
and
the authority. You know what? Why don't
We
we?
vote and then we're safe.
Yep.
Okay. I'd like to nominate Diane Surface for the authority. No, that's not the authority, though. I thought that was, Oh, you did? Okay, all right. Mike, would you like to do that? I think it's
Sure.
once a year meeting is what
Absolutely.
I think it is.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion for Mike Galler. Could we have a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
Thank you.
PSBA liaison, at the present time, it is Mrs. Zip. Mrs. Zip, would you like to continue?
Yes, please.
Okay, that is an appointment. So again, we'll have Mrs. Zip serve in that capacity. PSBA voting delegates, previously it has been Diane and Mike Galler. Would you like to continue? I know it's a virtual meeting, I believe.
I would prefer to step down.
You'd prefer to step down? It is, but I'm pretty sure it's a virtual meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to step up to do that as a voting delegate for PSBA? Okay, Rob. Okay, Mr. Clark and Mrs. Surface will be our voting delegates for PSBA. All right, Pleasant Valley School Directors, does anyone have any comments this evening? Okay, Superintendent's comments, anything for this one?
Yes, actually. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I did want to say congratulations to both Sue and to Matt. I'm excited to continue the successes that we're seeing here at Pleasant Valley. And I really do appreciate working with all of the board directors that are here. There's a lot of dedication and commitment to our district, to the community. So I appreciate their stewardship and their guidance as leading Pleasant Valley forward. So thank you.
All right, could I have a motion to adjourn the reorganizational meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
It was Mr. You know what I'll do? I'll repeat who made the motions, and then that way it'll be clearer for you. It was Mr. Galler and Mr. Clark. I think we'll do it that way. Probably be better. Okay. Okay, we are adjourned. I'd like to call our regular meeting to order. And I'd like to let you know that we did have an executive session. It was held this evening, December the 5th, 2024, immediately prior to the reorganization meeting for purposes of personnel matters, including but not limited to performance and or discipline, negotiations, and legal issues. This evening, we have student highlights. Mr. Van Voorhees from the PV Bears Academy, sorry.
Thank you so much, and congratulations, board members. It's good to be back up. I'm actually going to invite my team up with me, my small but mighty crew of PV Bears Academy. I have to say I do work with the best team, just because anytime I ask them to come out, they're always here, and I think that's an awesome addition. So we actually did things a little bit differently tonight, and I hope the board doesn't mind. Instead of doing just student highlights, we wanted to do just an overall kind of state of PVBA. It's a little bit more involved. I apologize for that. But I think it's worthwhile because, again, I don't know if a lot of people actually know what PVBA is, and it might be a good opportunity also for our community to see a little bit more about what our program has to offer and what we do. So really quick, I put on the board enrollment information. Enrollment information is a little bit interesting when it comes to, well, some of my numbers are actually above the curtain, so that's a shame. But the good news is the enrollment information is last year for the entire year and this year. This is a dashboard that we create yearly just to make sure we can see it. Yes, I apologize, board members. If you need to move, please feel free to do so. The most important numbers here is you got 371. All right, that's our last year's total impact number. So I say it's a total impact number. We're a very fluid program. We have students who are in and out of our doors. Our program gives our community flexibility, and that's an important thing because if a student can leave and then come back to the brick and mortar, that's a student we kept in Pleasant Valley the entire time. What we found is that students who leave our Pleasant Valley community, we have a harder time retaining those students. So we want to make sure we keep them with us. What you cannot see is up here, our current number of total impact students for this year is 380. 380, and that's right now. So last year's number for the entire year was 371, and we're currently already at 380 students. Really quick before I pass it off to my team, this is a vision that we created last year when I took over the principalship of the program. It's a pretty easy goal statement, really. We want to make sure we strive for excellence in education. This is at the top of every single faculty meeting agenda. And our committee, our crew, our team can actually speak to this because what we do is based on these bullet points. So our goal is always to create improved attendance and achievement, all right, just like brick and mortar, provide inclusive school environment. We want our students to feel like they're still a bear, expand communication with our families, align curriculum for seamless transitions. And of course, we want to be the best electronic option for our students. We know that the brick and mortar setting is best for most of our students, but for some students who choose to go cyber, we want to provide them the best opportunities if they stay with us. I'm actually going to pass it off to our newest staff member, who is Ms. Leibenguth, who joined us as the PVBA counselor.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. And as a first-year counselor, it's been an honor to step into this role and kind of build this program from the ground up. So my goal as the PVBA counselor is how to make cyber students feel like they still have a voice while completing academic through a screen. All right, so the first slide I'd like to show you is our Google Calendar booking page. I actually set it up so that students and parents can book to meet with me whenever. We have about 25-minute sessions throughout the day. It'll come through our email actually as counseling video calls over here. It'll go to the parent, student, myself, and anyone else who we want to invite to said meeting. This is how I booked a lot of my senior meetings in the beginning of the year. I sent out a lot of emails to parents and students, and I just gave them this link and I said, book me for a time that works for you. And it was extremely successful in getting student engagement up. Here are some of the forms that I created to make it kind of easier to access me while online. One of them is my senior meetings form, in which I had some kids fill out some fields such as what do you want to do? What are some goals and aspirations you have? I have my letter of recommendation request form. It's very impersonal over cyber, so this gives me some extra background details to help personalize letters for students to gain them admission into college. And additionally, I have another credit recovery form over here just to kind of keep track of things. And then I link them all to spreadsheets so we have access to data in a very easy format. Personalized graduation plans are something that I take a lot of pride in. So you'll see a snapshot of a personalized graduation plan for a student that I created. She actually has 10 credits as a senior, and she's attempting her final 2 years of school in 1 year. My job as a counselor is to give the students the tools that they need to be successful. She came to me and we created a plan. So if she pulls this off, she will be my nomination for Student of the Month for sure. This student was given a 2-year graduation plan laying out exactly what classes need to be taken for graduation. These are just some of the things that I send to parents just to kind of give them a real look into what actually I do behind the scenes and what credits their child needs to graduate. This student is an MCTI building student taking supplementary classes in order to be NCAA eligible. I created this plan for her. Flexibility is key. So one of the main draws of the program is that we are super flexible. So if parents can't attend phone conferences, again, they have access to my phone calendar. And I'm also able to provide very detailed step-by-step breakdowns of grades. So this is an email actually that I was commended for. I am known for writing very, very long and detailed emails because I find that I like a lot of details, so I think that parents do too. This is an email basically I sent to a parent that couldn't make one of our parent conferences. She basically just wanted to know a breakdown of her kids' grades and stuff, so I sent the time log, which is able to let us know how much time the student spends on certain things, and the progress report with explanations of what the parent should be seeing. Now I'm going to pass it off to our PVBA K-5 teacher, Mr. Kresge. Thank you.
I just ask a question while you're at the podium?
Yes.
So let's take our senior class.
Yes.
If a student didn't sign up for a phone conference or a parent, do you still reach out to them to try to set something up?
Oh, of course. It's all documented. I make sure to send out mass emails multiple times. And then for the stragglers who I notice who haven't responded, I'll send them personalized emails and tag their parents as well. So we try to get engagement as much as we can. We do what we can with the tools that we're given.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Mr. Kresge. I am the PVBA K-5 teacher of record. Often I'm asked the question, so what is it that you do? So hopefully, by the end of this presentation, with the words of Bob Ross, I'd like to create a happy little image of what a PVBA teacher's day looks like, okay? So bear with me as I go through this because it leads up to my day, okay? So upon arrival to school, I will open, export, and save a daily report, which gives me the complete overview of all my students. As I get to my students, then it's off to going into each individual student. So as I get into each individual student, I can see a lot of different things from this one record. Again, mind you that I go through this with each of my students. In my classes. So yeah, I can see the grades of the student, which is right here. I can see the pacing of the student, which tells me that they're ahead of pace, that they're on pace, or they're behind pace. I can also see at the bottom or the recent activity. I can see for each day the time that they spent, how much time they spent in each of those subjects, and the total of that time spent on that day. So for each of those courses, which then brings me to seeing where and what area the student would need help with. For example, if they're behind in pacing or have a low grade, then I would direct my attention to logging in as the student. So up here, I can click on this button, log in as the student. So again, this is done for each of those students. So once I log in as that student, this is what they have on their screen. So this is like their homeroom check-in list. This is their calendar. This is what they have to do for that day, that particular day. So what you should see here, you should see the check marks. The check marks tell me that they are completed with that activity for the day. If they do not have check marks, that means that they are working on those skills for that day. So I look for the check marks. I make notes on which courses need attention and plan my activities or lessons for our Google Meet sessions that happen later in that day. In this particular example,
Sorry, Mr. Kresge, I just had a question. So do students and parents, I'm looking on the left now to look at the progress, because I understand you're talking about the daily progress for the students, but on the left side, that screen or snapshot, is that accessible to the students and parents to understand how they're progressing through the curriculum?
this is for Tuesday, like the specific day. This is what they have. This is their current score. This is their current progress. This is just their homeroom check-in, where they need to go before they click on one of these things up here for activities, to-do lists, courses, and then they have the option to open this up. And then this from here is where they go in and see by day, and they can look at it, how it's laid out every day for the next, to the end of the quarter.
Wonderful, thank you.
What does their PE class consist of? PE? Their physical education?
Oh, physical, yeah, phys ed. They have to.
Is that something they do on their own?
Yes, they have to record. They log their activities. The program actually has its own coursework where they have to go in, and you can see for every grade it has their own phys ed courses, log activities. Sometimes it's they have to chart, how long did it take for you to dribble 10 yards? Were you proficient at that? Do you need help with that? So they chart their progress as they go throughout the course. So they do it once and then they do it again later.
So they're charting it themselves and grading themselves?
Parents. Yeah, parents. For phys ed specifically, yes. So in this particular example, you can see that for this particular student, I would need to address or mark down in my notes that this student is working on money and decimal operations for math, sound and light for science, social studies, or the colonial age. So in my notes, I would jot that down, make sure I keep that in play. Again, this is all based off of the previous screen which if they were ahead or behind or on pace, this is where I would look to see for adding some different lessons that I would need to teach them when we get to the Google Meet sessions. All right, this one, this is where I would go into now, again, with the grading, if their grades were low or needing of concern. These are all my classes, and obviously it goes down to 5th grade. So each of these classes I would have to click on, and I would go into the grade book. So upon the grade book, I would see what they got for quiz assignment, quiz grades and assignment grades. Lesson planning of the day would come from those past 2 slides, which I would look at their grades. So if their grading grade was low with one of the key subject areas in one of those activities, then I would make a note of that and address that when we meet via Google Meet. Also, emails, phone calls will be set up based upon looking at student data from this slide and the previous slide. All right, then it's off to grading. And this up here, this is my dashboard. So this is what I see when I come in the morning. I see that they need grades. Our students submitted assignments to be graded. This is an example of what students turn into me. This is a math example. So obviously, I go through, look at what they did as their activity or their work. I make comments and messages, leave messages if I need to, give it a grade based off of what I see, and submit it back to them. There's another example of a language arts activity with teacher comments. And again, they have to have the written work, and I grade it, submit it back to them, same thing. So this slide indicates more examples of student work that was submitted to be graded based on assignment rubric. This display of work demonstrates that the student receives grades for projects throughout the course assignments as well, not just the paper pencil variety. All right. Then the meat and potatoes of my day, meeting with the students. So here you can see 3 screens. This is one screen, middle screen, left screen. I have 3 screens sitting in front of me. So my Google Meet sessions with my breakout rooms are over here. Again, breakout rooms were for addressing the student needs and going into the lessons that were generated through the data mining that was done in the morning, looking at those previous slides. When looking through what was done, was gone over. Also, possible reinforcement, introductory or enhancement activities are presented to the students as an individual or group. I had to blur out the students here, but this is what, we're doing an activity here with the students. You can see that they're engaged in doing an activity as I'm sitting at my desk, answering a phone and answering emails at the same time. So it's quite a process throughout the course of the day. And of course, we don't just do that. We have some fun too as we're going through the courses. This is some Halloween activity that we did together, and we get to dress up. In addition to all my Google Meet sessions throughout the day, they have additional time to schedule with me on one-on-one appointments. They can discuss any concerns that they might have, or sign up to have their synchronous assessments taken with me that are scheduled throughout the program itself. So they have to log in at this time, and I give them the assessment piece via Google Meet, okay, which is quite different from where it was last year. So very quickly, so hopefully I was able to demonstrate the day in the life of a K-5 PVBA teacher. At the beginning of my presentation, I wanted to give you a happy little image of what the day of a PVBA teacher looks like. Hopefully now you can see the whole picture and a lot of happy.
What are your numbers, student-wise? How many students do you have at each grade level?
So I have the numbers. I can give that to everyone if you give me 1 second. In December of 2024 for the Bears Academy, what we do see is kindergarten, we have 1 student, first grade, 1 student, 3 in third, 6 in fourth grade, and then 3 in 5th grade. And we've talked a lot about how, we see a lot of transition in and out of the program throughout the year, more so in the secondary. And as we were looking at a little bit earlier, I think, some students are coming into our district lacking credits. And in a traditional high school schedule, they can only take a certain number of courses, which may not get them to that next level. And I know Mr. Van Voorst has always also said too that there are some students that are taking a full, load of classes at the high school, but then in the evening, taking online courses for some credit recovery and things of that nature. Because the goal is to make sure students have the opportunity once they graduate from Pleasant Valley to, have a very prosperous future. And unfortunately, some of the timelines that may have provided complications earlier in their high school career wouldn't give them that opportunity. So, but hopefully, does anybody else have questions about the numbers? The numbers, if you want me to.
Also, it was a savings too, correct? Because we had to pay a minimum amount.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Was there not a minimum amount we had to pay for Seneca Valley to do it, whereas this way we're saving because we don't reach that minimum amount?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
We switched the platform. And one of the reasons that we actually gave you some more time with Mr. Kresge, and that was intentional, is because we switched that platform over from last year. I wanted you guys to be able to see that, yes, the students are actually doing physical work. They actually have to submit things now. The individualized assessments is a very different feel, and it's a much more personalized approach, especially to our youngest learners, where, despite I don't necessarily agree with how he presented it, I agree that a lot of cyber education doesn't work. And part of the reason for that is because it's not personalized. And that's what we strive to do, especially to our Chi through 5 level. So the last piece I do want to turn it over yet to one last piece of our cyber program, and then we'll let you guys get back to your meeting here. Mr. Birnbaum?
Thank you. I'm the learning support teacher at Bears Academy. I have students in grades 4 through 12. I'm the case manager for 50 students at Bears Academy, and then also provide learning support for over 60 students. So inside of those sessions, we're doing small group and individual student support sessions. This way students can stay in contact with other students, have that social interaction, which we feel is a huge part that we need to keep kids involved with, rather than just feeling isolated working from their home. Inside of there, we're addressing their grades and their progress, different assignments. There may be a geometry assignment that's giving multiple students a hard time. We'll break that down. We'll review some lessons going up to there to make sure they have the prerequisite skills to be able to accomplish that. Also, a big piece of cyber is the flexibility. It can be great, but it can also be a disaster. So we talk about how kids stay organized, manage their time, make sure that they don't get behind, they're staying on pace, they're being successful, and also manage their individual needs. Along with that, we're progress monitoring students' IEP goals using our Ames web for reading and math. We're taking writing samples. We're making sure students are growing and progressing through the curriculum. Another large piece of my position is holding IEP meetings for students and parents, making sure we're addressing their needs, their strengths, the different pieces, to the student and how we can help them be successful. The last piece then would be monitoring students' progress in their grades and creating plans to help students be successful. Are they spending enough time on the class? Are they doing well? Are they struggling with the essays? Are they struggling with quizzes? Where do we need to look at and and fine tune and focus in on during our sessions. So that's what I do throughout the day with 60 plus learning support students coming and going through Google Meets, phone calls, emails, collaborating with Mr. Kresge at the elementary level, Seneca Valley teachers at the secondary levels, Miss L with the counseling and the graduation plans and pathways and those kind of pieces. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your attention, and hopefully it did provide you a little bit more feedback about what our program actually offers.
Thank you. I have one question. So we showed the students see, you guys see. What do the parents see on their end? How effective is it to have that interaction? So get Google Meets, but how effective is it in engaging a parent after it's a job? How to check that? So how do it run the school?
So what it ends up being is it's different at every level, right? K through 5, our students are going to need more support. And we know that, and the parents know that coming into our program. We're very clear with them. Actually, Mr. Kresge has an entire, it's almost like a very well-written, but like binder of this is the expectation. If you're a K through 5 parent, especially K1, 2, you have to be a learning coach. We don't expect them to be the teacher. They are not teaching their child content, but they do need to make sure that their student is getting on. They need to make sure their student is logging into those sessions. They may have to help them with some of this material. I do think that K1, 2 is a little bit more of a, it's similar-ish to a homeschool model in the sense where if a parent's not willing to do the work to get their kid going, if they're not going to be nudging their child in the right direction, it's not successful. The students and parents who are very engaged and they want their child to learn and they're involved, the teacher of record is the teacher. For grades 6 through 12, it's a little bit less hands-on, just like it is in our middle and high school program. It's a little more of a transition. And what ends up happening with that is the parents are emailed a daily report. All right. And that daily report gives them the progress their student has on every single course. Every single morning, it's telling them, is your child on pace? Is your child passing all of their courses? And if the answer is not, that helps them have the conversation with their child. If the child's not doing well, they can always reach out to us, like through our Google Calendars, like Ms. Leibniz shared. The students also have the ability to access teachers, live teachers over at Seneca Valley, teachers who are highly qualified, and they can set up times to meet with them as well. So there's a lot of areas where children can get support if they're needing it. And as far as the parent side of things, again, whenever we have problems, the parents who care, they contact us, we give them the support they need. Yep. Yeah. There's quite a few times actually, and my team's probably actually nodding behind me because literally just today I was having a conversation with a parent who was having problems with attendance. We take attendance in cyber just like we do in brick and mortar. And if students aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, I'm the person to say to them, hey, you know what? This probably isn't the format for you. And if you can't get back on the right track, you're coming back to brick and mortar. It's not because we're trying to penalize students. It's because it's not for everyone. If it's not working for you, my team's not going to let that child just fail or fall through the cracks. So something that we do every day is double check. One person who's not here for my team is Miss Moore. Since she's come onto the team, her attendance and what she does in tracking student progress and stuff like that is incredible. We've run a ton of SAIPs this year to make sure student attendance improvement plans, to make sure our students are doing what they're supposed to be doing and holding them accountable. So yeah.
Question for you. Do you spend much time interfacing with any other your counterparts within the county or any other surrounding areas? And what feedback, if you do, what feedback are you getting from them about their programs that we might want to consider for here?
So in our area, it's unique. We've got a bunch of different kind of programs available. Most of them are using Edgenuity or Imagine Learning to some extent. East Stroudsburg, most of our schools in our area are actually utilizing that. The difference is different schools are having different levels of their own teachers facilitating the courses. And how did they actually get to that level of involvement? And each of them do it differently. It's very unique. Some schools do it as a stipend position. Some schools do it where they have full-time teachers. In most cases where schools have an entire program themselves, it's usually morphed from something that happened before. So like, for instance, Pocono Mountain had their academy. If you remember back in the day, they had the alternative educational placement. That's what became their cyber program. So it's kind of interesting how these programs kind of develop, and it depends a little bit on what the teachers want, what the community wants, and honestly what we can facilitate and how many people we have. So right now, I'd say that we're right in the middle. of what we're offering as far as most of the districts in Monroe County have their complete program on their own. But again, they came from something different. So for us, it's like building from the ground up. I hope that helps. Yep.
What is our next step?
What's my next step?
Correct. Saying that, like I said, if we can eventually get to our PV teachers to teach all grade levels, like Mr. Craigie has K to 5, what's the next step to try to involve our teachers? Because you're stating that it's so much easier when they come to our cyber school, but what if it's our own teachers teaching that? Where are we at in that?
It's challenging, and there's a lot of different. It's a multifaceted issue. I'll put it that way. Just yesterday, I was actually speaking with Imagine Learning, requiring or asking for some information about what their programs, what do they have to offer. I'm actually in contact with Seneca Valley as well about some of how is our collaboration working with them and what we can do to enhance that. So, I mean, what my own personal vision is for the program versus where we can get to realistically, I don't know if this is the right format to have that conversation, as much as looking at it and saying, hey, what's going to be best for Pleasant Valley, and working with the central administrators, the community, the teachers, and having that conversation. But again, depending on who you talk to, I think everyone has a different vision for it. So I think it's going to be, if we're going to move in a direction, make sure we're doing it deliberately, making sure it's well planned out, making sure it's going to be successful. If we do choose to take a step in the right direction, just like we did with K through 5, it was done very intentionally. Training happened before we tried to force anything onto anyone, and the teachers were agreeing to it before we tried to move in that direction. So it's not just an administrative thing, it's also a teacher thing, and we need to make sure we're doing things right.
I think I can add a little bit to that. I would say what we're doing as a district is assessing and growing. And what I mean by that is, if you recall, before, I guess when the pandemic had actually occurred, I know that we as a district struggled to have an offering online. And if you look at the sheer number, it's factual. And you can look at, and I have the data too, I could share that later. But you look at the number of students that were on a cyber program that was offered at Pleasant Valley before the pandemic, spikes up to about 700 during the pandemic. And then, there was just a lot of challenges. And even we experienced challenges with VLN. The feedback that we got from many parents was that it's not as engaging. So we looked at other opportunities. Both Dr. Howard and I had experience with Edgenuity. And, we talk about assessment and growth. When we first made that pivot to Edgenuity, we started off very small. We had a very, I think, one individual, as running the whole program, as it was actually a year before that. We've included more teachers because we realized that there was a need, and we have excellent teachers in the district, but these individual teachers, the way that they're able to multitask and support students who have different experiences in school and maybe some different barriers, they've done an incredible job. So I think for our perspective, we're continuing to make great strides, and we want to make sure that we're offering excellent programming so that way students remain in our school district. That's really what the goal is. So I think, even looking at this year, we're going to continue to assess how the implementation is for this year. And then as we look, we've already had some discussions about, how do we add a middle school teacher that has a mid-level certification that can actually help our students. The challenge, to be honest, is that this is all predicated on certifications. And so what I mean by that, if you are a high school certified teacher for biology, you don't have a chemistry certification. So to put that in perspective, if we're going to run our own program, I need a salaried and benefits for a chemistry teacher and a biology teacher and a geometry teacher and an algebra teacher. So it becomes a little bit different of a ballgame in the high school. But it is something that our team has definitely discussed, and we're looking to infuse additional opportunities for our staff to be part of that. But I also think, through contract negotiations and through other avenues, we do have to work together to determine what works for our staff, and most importantly, the reason why we're here, what's best for kids. So.
Yeah,
but I did want to just end too with Mr. Van Boris and his team. They do an incredible job. And again, the growth that I have personally witnessed since I've been here is incredible. we're catering to support education for students who, feel that maybe the traditional brick and mortar isn't the best fit for them. And so again, as a district, we have an obligation to support the parents and students of our community to give them that excellent offering. And what I'm seeing here tonight, this evening, thank you for your commitment. There's obviously a lot of time and effort spent to create individual plans for the students, and I really applaud the great efforts happening in the Bears Academy. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Voorhees. Ms. Mira down there, do you have a report for us this evening? Hello? Yeah, she's being very patient.
Hi. Hello. Sorry. Okay. It is good to be back. November was a great month at the high school. We had a lot going on. I'd especially like to highlight a couple things. The Pleasant Valley Scholastic Scrimmage team currently has an undefeated season, and our last match is taking place this coming Monday. Our spot in the EPC Championships is secured. Yay! The team also competed in the PVS League for the first time in a while. I don't know the exact year. And we defeated Northern Lehigh in the first round and Southern Lehigh in the second round. The episode for round 1 will air on PBS 39 on December 29th and on the PBS website, so definitely tune in. Not to spoil, but we totally destroyed them. Sorry. The PV debate team has also qualified for the EPC Championships, which will be attending tomorrow at Nazareth High School. And the debate team is also going to be participating in the NCFL Winter Debate League for the first time ever. Big things happening. And the drama club performed their fall play Get Smart on November 23rd and 24th, and everybody loved it. The cast and crew worked super hard to make sure everybody had a great time, and they absolutely succeeded, in my opinion. And tomorrow, our students who achieved honor roll and distinguished honor roll will take part in a ceremony where they're recognized for their academic efforts in the first marking period. And a couple weeks ago, I want to highlight that our school was visited by a representative from Rachel's Challenge, which is a nonprofit organization advocating for a positive outlook on life and an end to violence in honor of Rachel Scott, who was a victim of the Columbine shooting. Many of our students accepted Rachel's challenge to look for the best in others, dream big, choose positive influences, speak with kindness, and start their chain reaction. So that's great. Big things happening at the high school. That's all I have for today, but stay tuned for developments in all of these. I'll be back.
Mira, and good luck to all those teams competing. Yes, and definitely bring us back all that information. Dr. Conrad, did we have any community questions this evening?
Yes, we did actually. We had 4 community questions that were submitted. The first one was from Donna Yoswiak from Chestnut Hill Township. She had asked if administrators who attend the board meetings receive comp time. And what I want to respond is that there is no comp time. There's time that's been provided to principals and directors who attend board meetings, given the fact that, the people here, my administration team, have obviously been working since 4 this morning. And so we have to be mindful of that. There's no financial gain. There's no financial benefit. There's no overtime for our administrators. And in fact, if you look into their CBA, there's no hourly, parameters for them. And I say that importantly because I think the community needs to understand this. Our administrators are available and accessible 24/7. They have the means to be, receive a phone call if it's something dealing with safety, as Chief Miller and I have had many conversations, and Dr. Howard at 1, 2 in the morning. And that 2 o'clock concern, whether that's during a school day or a weekend or a holiday, even like Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter because we have to attend to the students that we have to support in the community. So my administrators, they have that availability, the accessibility to respond to those emergencies. And frankly, building administrators and supervisors also have the availability to provide flexibility to their staff as long as that's not abused. And, we're very grateful during Students of the Month. We have teachers that may be here, this evening. But they're here at a challenge where maybe they're missing a doctor's appointment. So do the principals have the ability to work with staff so long as it's not negatively impacting our student achievement and students in the district? Of course, and that's something that they work out with them. I think that's a benefit of trust, right? Everyone that's here, whether board members who've worked a job and then are committed in coming here to support the community, or administrators or teachers, counselors, everyone is accessible, and we have to be, because at a moment's notice, there could be an emergency that we have to attend to. So we try to be very mindful and flexible to that. And I think the administrators that, have been in our district completely understand that. And if you were to ask them, I'm sure they would, explain to you that, yes, this is a 24/7 job. And, whether it's 9:30 at night looking at the weather last night, or, 4 in the morning and chatting with the other superintendents, like this doesn't stop. But we do it because we care about the community and our students, and we have to continue to move forward. So moving on from there, the second question was submitted from Ann Gravel from Polk Township regarding the work session meetings. So there are no minutes for the work session meetings, and I want to make the community understand. So we do 2 board meetings per month, and those 2 board meetings are voting meetings. As you know, with a large district, we have a lot of personnel items, business transactions, things of that nature that we need to have formal business for. And frankly, because of Robert's rules, which is, guiding principles of, organized meetings, whether it's your township meetings or through board meetings, we really don't have the opportunity to engage in dialogue. So I'd say about 2 years ago, our board and I had a discussion about how can we actually engage our community if they have questions. And so what we have is actually working sessions. And so the working session occurs usually after the first board meeting. And so we do the voting portion, and then we have our administration team who's there that evening as well. And they are presenting information on curriculum, safety, athletics. And that's an opportunity that we've continued to encourage our community to come out and ask questions that you have. The beautiful thing that we try to do is, again, through full transparency, all of the board meetings that we have not only are live streamed through a multitude of media right now. Okay, and I appreciate the parents and family members that are at home watching this at this moment, but it's also recorded. And so anyone at any given time can go back and say, hey, I had an obligation. I wasn't able to see what they're talking about for the reading curriculum or, athletics. But you can go back, and everything's posted right there on the district website. It's always been there, that you can go back and actually see what we were discussing. And the other part of this is that, communication is essential, right? So we provide opportunities. In fact, I met with a parent this morning for about an hour. She had some questions about some things that were happening in the district and some concerns and things of that nature. Any of us, myself included, our administration team, will take the time. We're here to support the students in the community. So when community members have questions, and quite frankly, the facts might not always be out there on social media, I would encourage people to come and talk to us about it. Because if you have questions, just like we're doing right now, we're trying to answer those questions to the best we can. So I would just encourage those individuals to go to those working meetings. The other thing too is we have what's called committee of the whole, and what that means is that there are 9 elected officials here, and they all have an important voice. So when we have any discussion, especially during these working sessions, we as a district have found that it's best to make sure that everyone has representative at that time to be able to share some insight. And that might be a little bit different because in other school districts, they might have a committee of, let's say, 3 people who kind of drive a committee like, let's say, athletics. And these 3 individuals want to hire a particular coach. But one of the things that we've talked about as a board is that we should all be privy to the information at the same time in the same way, so we can all make they can all make an informed decision of what's presented. So hopefully that does explain a couple of things. The last 2 questions were the exact same question from Donna Yoswiak and Sandra Bartashunas from Chestnut Hill. And the questions were concerning the superintendent's resignation, which will be addressed, I believe, later on by our solicitor. So that'll be forthcoming. And if not, then I can certainly add to it towards the end, but certainly have an opportunity to address some of those things to provide some clarification of how things have transpired. And there's some, I think, things that need to be expressed and also understood from our community. So that's all I have.
Dr. Conrad. At this time, Pleasant Valley citizens, is there anyone that would like to address the board on agenda items only during our first session? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and the township you reside in, and there is a 3-minute limit.
This is policy time, right?
Yeah, policies are included that are on, yeah.
Making sure I got it right.
You got it right.
All right. Back again, Ann Gravel, Polk Township. I spoke a couple years ago when you decided to change parents to stakeholders, principals to administrators, and now I'm speaking on term limits. No offense, Sue. Time's up. With the new president coming in, term limits will be on Congress, term limits will be everywhere. Why does a school district not have term limits? I think everybody should take a turn. You knew when you ran for this was a possibility. This is an outrage that someone else can't take the helm. No offense, Sue, your time's done. Somebody else really needs to step up. We need change in the school district. We need different voices. Enough's enough. Come on, people. I mean, you recline, you decline. Mr. Gazicki, he deserves a chance. All right? No offense, Sue. Again, I understand we're going into. Your experience is welcome, but I think you should mentor somebody else because, no offense, you're not going to be here forever. We may have these board members for quite some time. Thank you.
Seeing no one else approach the podium. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. I do have a small thing. In this session that we just did, I looked at the agenda listing. I'm sorry, Janet Dooner, Polk Township. I think I have to say that. I'm sorry again. Always remind me. How can we talk about this if it wasn't, the secretary's report wasn't an approval of the board meeting agenda? Does that make sense? I can show you the papers that I printed because last week it was printed out differently. We did the Pleasant Valley citizens after we did the secretary's report. This time we're doing the Pleasant Valley citizens, and it might just be because there's 2 meetings, but I think there's a flip, and I don't want to have anything come back at us that we did things out of order.
I think you are absolutely right.
Okay.
I think we should have approved the agenda and then done public comment, right, Kathy? That's how it should have been.
I know everyone's tired. I'm tired too.
I'm
It's
pretty sure
possible.
that's how we've done it.
I have the papers because, and then that just brings me to my speech. So I'm going to be very brief because I know everyone's tired. And it kind of goes into the term limits. And I think what you have to understand is that term limits are not just about school board members. It's everywhere in the media. It's everywhere in the government. And I spoke on November 25th. I was a little heated that night. I walked in because I was frustrated that night. And it wasn't my best moment. But I still support the idea of term limits. And the reason I'm saying that is it's being able to speak about this for the people is our 3 minutes in this constitutional republic to be involved. Longevity in our government has not necessarily brought leadership to its best stance. And being an elected representative in this local community should always be about serving the people and others. And I know we do that, we try that, but government is an agency of stewardship. And I had that word written down before you even said it, Dr. Conrad, because it is about stewardship. It's a different term that we need to embrace. The reason for term limits for elected positions has been called for in all our levels of government. The board may have its reasons behind closed doors or even in public for the reason of supporting I hate this thing when I have to go back and forth, but I do support the term limit idea. And the reason I say that, I was surprised by the lack of enthusiasm No, that's okay. I was surprised by the lack of enthusiasm for wanting to be the president or wanting to be the vice president. And I hope that you realize that the people did elect you. It is a humble honor to be there. And I do think that you believe that. But you should foster that desire to want to serve in that leadership, in that role of the president or vice president. And it is not against you, Sue, personally. This is a time of change in our country. We're hoping that more people, and I hope that more people start coming. I wasn't coming because I was very busy doing other things. And I just hope people watch it and embrace it and keep coming. That's all I can say. But thank you for your service.
I just wanted to respond to your comment about term limits. I think it's an interesting topic. And maybe as a general premise, I agree with the idea, maybe globally. But the issue, I think, for me is one of a legality. And, you know, if a district were to enact a term limit, whether it be for president, vice president, or frankly, any appointment that they institute, I'm not so sure it's legal. And I'll give you an explanation. If you look at the school code, which talks about appointing officers, it doesn't, in that instance, have term limits within the state law. So 5 boards from now, nobody is on the board that's here, and somebody wants to be a board president for a 3rd time, if say we have two terms as the limit. I don't think there would be anything to prevent that. A policy is a policy, but the law, if they wanted there to be limits, there would be limits. So I appreciate the issue, but I just think I don't even know how placing that into a policy would be consistent with the law itself.
I understand that, okay? But we the people, it's local. You guys are local, okay? We, the public, would like to keep term limits here.
Understood.
So.
Understood.
Now, this is going to be the 2nd reading. Obviously, you guys are going to pass it because it's already on there. But remember, we the people want to have this, and this is our local government. And I think we should have the right to say term limits to the people we voted in.
Understood. And I would concur with that too. I think we'd all have to go into it, even if there were a policy down the road to term limit, that it is more aspirational than it is binding. Understood.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else at this time? Yeah, he said he was going to address it with her.
Sorry, sorry, Denise Hopley, Chestnut Hill Township. Why is the policy up for review if we are asking you not to change the policy? 005. Why is it up for the 2nd discussion? We are asking you to keep term limits because we should have a diversity here. We have a diverse and very intelligent board. Why can't we use all our board members? Why do we have to have a 4th term president? I don't understand this. You ask us to look at the policies, we're looking at the policies. We take our time to come every time. We try and back everything that's best for the students. Oh, is something wrong?
Denise, I can hopefully address your concern, if you don't mind. Would you like
But
me to?
why are we doing 005?
Well, let me explain. So what I had stated at the last board meeting was, yes, that this 005 policy did come from that decision in Jim Thorpe Area School District. What I believe I also said too, and if not, I apologize, but the idea is twofold. One is that we receive recommendations from Pennsylvania School Board Association and their legal team on recommendations for policy. And as they review our policies, one of the things that they don't have in policy 005 is a recommendation for term limits. Now, what's interesting is this. So first off,
But can I stop you one second?
But let me finish, because I think this will make sense to you.
But it's already in place. Term limits are already in place.
No, and this is what I need to clarify. If you look at the policy right now, and I would encourage anyone to go on board docs and look at policy 005, one thing that I think is very glaring is this. I believe it's almost a recommendation in terms of the term limits. However, it states very clearly on each of those term limits with an asterisk and I don't have the exact language, so I apologize, but essentially the board as a whole can determine whether or not they feel it's in their best interest to, change that or not. So the fact that it's not in policy 005 is actually a moot point, because when it's currently in its current iteration, right at this very moment, before we're even voting on a change in a minute, it actually limits the, it recommends the potential for limits, but it also says very clearly that that does not have to be the case if that's the will of the board. And I think from a governmental perspective, there are 9 board members here. And I think what's a little bit different is there's not an executive order or power from the board president of a school board. President Kresge's vote is no different than that of any other board member here, and her vote cannot trump somebody else's and supersede that. So there are 9 people here, and obviously mathematically there's a reason that there's an odd number, because if there's a split vote of a 4-4, there's a 5th person to sway one way or the other. So I definitely hear what you're saying, and I think that this board definitely values what you're saying, because I agree. I think that there's benefit for all of us to learn the ropes and what it takes to lead a school board. I'm very happy with the direction that we've headed in and the direction that we're headed towards. But I just want to say that, like, in the current iteration of the policy right now, what just occurred with Mrs. Kresge being voted again as president is, number one, coming from her colleagues and elected officials before you, because of the stewardship and the belief that they believe that she can continue to do a great thing. And I think as a community can see some really great things happening in Pleasant Valley. But also it's well within their rights to make that determination to bring on and support everyone. That's why we talk about having committee of the whole, is that we're all here to have an equal voice. I don't have a vote. I don't need a vote, but I make recommendations, and then the board then ultimately makes decisions based on that vote. So I'm just saying that as it's currently stated right now, it's really a moot point. It's being recommended that it's not even addressed in the policy, because at any point, if the board chooses to sway one way or another, they have that right to do so. Sure.
Okay, since it's just
hold on. Hold on. I want to stop the Q&A at this point. And if you have a comment, you can. I'm going to set at 0 to start your 3 minutes. Okay.
plus the 50.
No, I'm going to give you the 3, the full
Plus
3.
the 50.
Oh, we're not there yet. No, go ahead.
From before.
Go ahead.
So that's your take on this whole matter with the term limits. Okay, this isn't the community, because community has no knowledge of what the board is deciding. The community has no knowledge that the board's going to decide this way and we're going to follow this policy. We're not going to follow the policy here that's on the agenda. We're not clairvoyant yet. Okay, we would love to be able to read your mind. We would love to be able to see, let's work cohesively together so we can get term limits in here, so we can hear everybody who have been tremendous leaders in their own right in this community. I don't see where it's beneficial for people to have 4th terms. And again, that's your take, but the community is not, there isn't enough transparency for us to agree with you. I can't agree with you on that. And I don't see the benefit of having all these people in the same position for years. I mean, change is good. That's what we've all heard. So you should get everybody an opportunity too. And everybody should step up on the board, and they should all take their turn, and they should want to have somebody else. And again, if it's predetermined, then that's what it is. But again, that's your take, but the community is not being heard.
Seeing no one else approach the podium, Mrs. Smale, please.
Good evening. Tonight I'm requesting approval of the minutes of the meeting held on November 25th, 2024, and the approval of the December 5th, 2024 board meeting agenda.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Berger and seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion?
Yes. First of all, I have to abstain from the vote because I was out of state with family. However, I did watch the video twice since I've been home Sunday and today. there was incorrect information given when someone asked about salaries, how they're determined, and they were told that Act 93 is negotiable. Act 93 is not a negotiable contract. That is something where 3 board members meet with administration and decide what they want to give them as salaries. The only contracts that are negotiable are the professional staff, which includes teachers, nurses, guidance counselors, special ed, et cetera. They negotiate. Support staff, which is custodians, maintenance, our secretary, general secretaries, cafeteria, those are all negotiable. Supplementary contract, which a number of you asked about, that was coaching, advisors, that is determined by administration. They decide what they want to pay, who and what. They establish their own contract. So that should answer your question. If you have anything else, please reach out. I have no problem answering it correctly. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries. Treasurer's report, Mrs. Service.
Yes, tonight I'm seeking approval, item 18A through C, A being informational.
So moved, Galler.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Galler, seconded by Mr. Gaziski. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Tammy, the Rendell All-American, the football jersey laundry for $6,175. How often do we jersey wash those jerseys?
That invoice is for all of football, all levels, and it's for the entire season.
Okay, so at the end is when they do it all. Then do they store that then for us too as well, or is that has to be stored on our own?
I think it's returned to
Okay.
to athletics at the end, but they're cleaned. It's all the sanitary. It's part of the PIAA rules.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yes.
Debbie, I'm sorry. I need to abstain from 18C, check 242537, self.
Okay. Thanks, Mrs. Zip.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries. Moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes, and good evening again. I wanted to revisit the meeting of November 25th and clarify what I believe were some misunderstandings surrounding the intentions of the board and Dr. Conrad that evening. Now, while I was not there, I knew full well what the intentions were that evening, and that was for the board and Dr. Conrad to enter into a new 5-year contract. Now, I suspect for many of you out there, you're wondering, well, why was there a resignation on the agenda? And I will tell you, frankly, just looking at the agenda, I would ask that same question. Dr. Conrad, unlike anybody else in this district, comes not just with an employment contract, but a commission through the state. And if the district were to enter into a new contract and commission with him, he would effectively have to resign his current commission. And that was the intent of the multiple action items for the 25th. A resignation from the current commission and contract to be then reappointed to a new 5-year contract and commission. That's why they were connected together. So frankly, I apologize if that was not clear, but that was the global intention of the board with their superintendent that evening.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Is there any other unfinished business?
Yes, I'd like to chime in.
Sure.
I'd also like to talk about last meeting. I prepared a statement here that does not reflect this board as a whole, but me personally. Having this meeting back in the auditorium brings back memories of 4 years ago, the dark times this district and board was pulling out of. I definitely don't want to see us go backwards. We need to do better. I left our last meeting on November 25th with my head spinning. To our community, did we handle things correctly prior to meeting regarding the plans and actions for the agenda? No, we didn't. But I do commend Sue for taking ownership as board president and at several times trying to explain things, but being shut down by the community. Hindsight is always 20/20, and everyone makes mistakes. Community members, please don't lose faith in your board members. Look how far we've come in just 3 years. moving forward from those troubling times. Please understand, we do approve contracts and agreements for employees across the districts, and those documents, when presented, are open for discussion. However, when it comes down to individuals, we do not discuss personnel issues in public meetings, and thus no comments are made from school board members regarding such issues. The public raised several concerns that singled out a specific employee, in this case our superintendent, regarding rumors and accusations, thus becoming what could become a personnel issue. While it was a personnel issue, I believe that could have been handled better by that employee. James, we had members at the podium 27 times on November 25th, with the majority of them commenting on concerns about your contract and raise proposal. During the public comments, you heard the discontent and rumors as to why this was happening. Seeking work elsewhere, accepting another job, strong-arming us, etc. I anxiously awaited for agenda item 21, which is Director Superintendent comments, hoping to hear some words of encouragement from you regarding those rumors and to reassure your utmost commitment to our district and community. That never happened. Our community was looking for feedback. Instead, you avoided the subject, and when our community realized that you would not acknowledge their concerns and rumors, they left, and all you could say is, "Thanks for coming out," as they walked out during your remarks. James, I've always supported you. We've come a long way in the past 3 years. However, your lack of response and reassurance, along with your actions since the last board meeting, has me placed in a stance where moving forward, I will not support opening your contract until expiration.
Nothing this evening. We will meet on Monday, December 9th.
Thank you, Diane. Colonial IU, Mr. Galler.
We have our one monthly meeting next Wednesday. I will have a report prepared for January's meeting.
Thank you. PSBA liaison report, Mrs. Zip.
Nothing new at this time.
Thank you, Mrs. Zip. Education report, I do not have anything this evening to report. Finance report, Mrs. Surface.
Called for later in the agenda.
Athletic report, Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes, good evening. I'd like to say all of our winter athletes are doing an awesome job putting some wins up on the board. It's a good collective effort from those teams, and I want to put a huge shout out to our first ever win for our girls wrestling team. That was a debated topic up here at this board, and look what they're doing. They're winning. So I'd like to give a huge shout out to those girls. I wish they were here. We could stand up and give them a round of applause. So that's what I'd like to do now. And to close, I'd like to see this support at our events as well, to come support our students. I know everyone likes to gripe and moan at us, and I'll take it. But let's go support the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe. Mrs. Zip, policy report.
There's 4 policies on the agenda tonight for second reading and approval.
Thank you. Capital improvement, Mr. Berger.
We haven't had any meetings since our last board meeting. However, we got notification that there is a solution to the fees for our renovation project. Be looking forward to seeing the results. Thank you.
Thank you. Technology, Mr. Clark.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Walter, security.
Yeah, I just want to say Pleasant Valley was the recipient of the PCCD School Safety and Security Grant, which is $183,539. That will be used mostly for internal security for both the PVE, PVI, and PVM. Most of the other upgrades for the high school will be used during the renovation project, and we'll have more to follow with that.
I have a question for Mr. Walters. Is there a chance that you could provide the, not 16th meeting, but the following one in January? I know we had this once before, but the number of security and number of police that we have total and what they are by shift, like how many do we have per shift and at what building? So like, is there a 9 to 5? So many are there after school, how many are there? And then Saturday and Sunday, are these shifts, are these regular shifts or do we pay these people overtime during that time?
Okay, I need to link with the solicitor and the chief to make sure what information I can give out. I don't really want to tell people about,
Right.
in and out of what the security's doing, but let me link with them, and whatever information I'm able to give you on that, I'll have for that January meeting.
Okay, thank you. I also have one other thing here since we're out of their new business. This goes for everyone here involved. It says policy 003-1 board communication. As an elective representative of the citizens of Pleasant Valley, the board member has the responsibility to listen and acknowledge opinions, recommendations, complaints concerning the school district by the citizens, parents, guardians, and students. As a member of the governing body of the district, the board member has the responsibility to listen and acknowledge the opinions, recommendations, complaints concerning the district by professional as well as the non-professional employees of the district. Education law fact sheet. School boards are accountable to the residents of the district they serve and who elect them. This means they, the board, have the responsibility to keep the community informed and must make all decisions using input from the public and the members of the community. Citizen Advisory Committee. This is policy 905. The purpose of this advisory committee, which we do not have, the board recognizes citizen advisory committees and other ad hoc committees that can be useful in keeping the board and administration informed with regard to the community opinion and the representation of the community in the study of the specific school issues. An advisory committee shall consist of at least one board member, interested community residents, and district administration when appropriate. When creating the advisory committee, the board shall define the committee's assignment, appoint the chairperson, appoint residents that are interested that can help for special contributions, approve appointment of the residents, staff members, and students recommended, which could be from the superintendent, seek the widest range of community interests and backgrounds. The board may set dates for preliminary and final reports. The recommendation of advisory commission shall not reduce the responsibility of the board, which shall be free to accept or reject the amended modified committee recommendations. Meetings for the advisory committee are not regular meetings of the board and shall be open to public only upon invitation. In reading this, and because I've heard this brought up a number of other times by other board members in the past and citizens, where is this committee at? Tonight, I'd like to make a motion that such a citizens advisory committee be established, operational, and presented at the board no later than the January 23rd, 2025 meeting. And that's a motion, so I need a second.
Mr.
You need a second, folks. You need a second from another board member.
Hold on.
Mr. Kaczynski,
Mr. Fitzgerald, that is a new business. That is a motion that I made.
no, unfortunately, and we're still waiting by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court on this very topic.
Okay.
Right now, agenda has to be set 24 hours in advance. Only what I'll call de minimis items can be added to the agenda. The establishment of this committee, I don't think would meet that threshold. So I would ask that this might be something to be considered on a future agenda.
So this could be added on the December 16th special meeting?
That will be up to the policy for agenda setting. So that I believe that goes through the superintendent's office.
Meaning that it's going to be ignored again, or does that mean we push it to a further date? Because it's quite obvious the community wants something said. In the last meeting, like I said, I watched it twice, and it's quite obvious they want some say in things, and I don't understand why we, the board, are not giving the people who elected us and put us here, why we're not giving them that representation.
Mr. Kaczynski, I would like to, I know you read portions of that policy. I would like to personally read the policy.
Go for it.
To make sure, because for some reason in my mind, I understand what you're saying, but it has to be, I think the policy says it has to be for a specific topic, just not to have a committee to discuss anything and everything. So I just want to make sure,
Citizens Advisory Committee, policy 905.
I have it
Whatever
written
you
down.
want to call it, bring it up. bring
I have it
the
written down.
community in.
And we could look at putting it on that agenda on our special meeting, but typically when we have a special meeting, it's usually a one agenda item. And that is to do, since I know that's out there too, I might as well explain that too. The only item that's on that special agenda for the 16th is the awarding of the bids to do with the high school renovation project, because the bids are due the 12th, I believe, the 12th. So that was going to be the only item on that agenda.
Bids are due on the 12th. We start the evaluation on the 13th.
Right.
With a report on the 16th.
Right, to the board. But we could definitely look at it in the month of January.
Put it
That
on the
would be
agenda
okay.
for the first January meeting.
I don't know the date off the top of my head, but
What takes it so long to put it on the agenda?
yeah,
It's been
that's
something that's
true.
brought up in the past, so I don't understand why it's still something that's been pushed aside.
My suggestion would be it probably can go to a work session discussion item for that first meeting in January.
I hear you, Mr. Fitzgerald, I really do. But I also know that, like I said, it's been dragged out. And we need to push it forward. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Conrad, superintendent's reports, please.
Sure. Okay, so tonight I'm seeking approval for agenda items 21B and 22A. Items 21C is informational.
I have a motion by Mr. Berger, seconded by Mr. Walters. Is there any discussion?
Yes, policy 005. I know it was mentioned a number of times that PSBA, this is an email from PSBA. All right, nothing in the public school code limits term limits of office. However, school districts may establish their own board policy creating such limitations. As mentioned on the phone, PSBA does not provide any legal advice. We always recommend consulting your school solicitor. So there was no legal advice from PSBA. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Anyone opposed?
All right, moving on to human resources. Mrs. Fulmer.
Good evening. Tonight, I'm seeking approval of items 23B through 23D.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Kaczynski, seconded by Mr. Walters. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
I'm seeking approval of items 24B through 24D. Item 24E is informational.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kaczynski, seconded by Mr. Walters. Is there any discussion?
Just for the community purpose, this is the supplementary contract. This is one of those that are set up by administrator. It's not something that's negotiated, just so you're familiar with that.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
There's nothing this evening for curriculum, so we're going to move on.
I would like a question about curriculum.
There's no motion.
Okay, in the curriculum, I heard, as I read it, Mrs. Kresge asked about the programs that were chosen for reading, and it was stated that there was 2 that were chosen, that I think she stated that there was 5 of them that were brought forward. And then the question was like, how did it get from 5 to 2? Was that something that the teachers actually said they wanted those as their final 2, or is that something the administrative team decided that it was that final 2? Please only answer that question. I don't want a lecture that's 3 miles long. Who did it? Was it the teachers that got it down to 2, or was it the administrator? That's all I want to know. Okay, and this was research, correct? Okay, then I'm confused why Education Weeks, which a superintendent gets because I read it, said that the Wonders Reading Program has gaps in its alignment to reading and does not offer enough support for teachers. It also stated it's unlikely to lead to literacy success of all the American public school children. I want to know, like, how did something like that become one of the final choices if our teachers and our administrators picked it? And also, just because I've been with this district for so many years, back when we used to have choices, our teachers had the actual choices. We have all those big blue signs at PVE to all the success that we had. And then when the superintendent decided to let their administrators start picking programs, our literacy program went down the dumps. And now it sounds like we're heading that way again. I'm not saying that's where it's going to be, but if our teachers are the ones that are in the trenches, then they should carry a heavy say as to what our children should be learning. Because we all know that first of all and foremost, those are the people working with our kids. Our administrators, not to say anything wrong about our administrators, but the administrators that I know that are involved in here, none of you have elementary experience, okay? So
The article that you referenced, was that a fact or was that an opinion?
Excuse me?
I said the article that you referenced that was written by someone.
The one that was Education Week that comes out of your office? That,
yes. Was that a fact? Was it empirical data and data, or was it an opinion
it
from
had a
someone?
survey listed with
Okay.
it. Yes, it did.
Well, I'll take another look
you
at
have
that.
that newspaper. Do you read that newspaper?
I do,
Okay,
but
see that
yeah,
article?
and I also saw the article where the Lucy Calkins program is actually going to federal court. You
Correct,
probably read
which
that too.
was not picked by
But-
teachers either.
But right, and so I want to make sure the community understands this. I actually had an opportunity to go down to PVE about a week ago and then talk to a few teachers at PVI. And the feedback I got actually overwhelmingly from both groups at PVE and PVI is that this is the first time ever in the history of the district. And one person said that they've been here for 26 years, mark my words. And they said that they've never been included to this degree of providing feedback and guidance on what they believe is going to be impactful. And it's interesting, and I want to share this too. The individuals said that in the past, when the individuals, there was about 5 or 6 people, I guess traditionally, that picked out the curriculum for reading, for example. And I guess what they shared with me was that it always came down to whatever's the cheapest, right? And we all know that sometimes when you go cheap, you don't get the same quality and the same value. And what was interesting is when we had that discussion, and Mr. Pomposello was there, Dr. Howard was there, our curriculum leaders were there, and we talked to them about, we're not so much, that's of course a factor without a doubt, but this is more about what resources do you need? What's the continuity? In fact, in another meeting that I had with our teachers just 2 weeks ago, I asked the teachers in the middle school, are you familiar with the curriculum that's being implemented at PVE and PVI? And I will tell you the answer was no. Because we haven't, as a district, had vertical alignment. That means taking a look at our reading curriculum, and when the students leave 5th grade at PVI and then go to the middle school in 6th grade, we haven't had discussions to the degree that we should be having about what are the gaps, what are the challenges. And so we, as an administration team, and with the great work of our teachers, have said, let's collaborate, let's talk about how do we get to a better place? And that involves more feedback and more people. So I think we're actually doing a tremendous job with that. And again, I'll make sure that I review every article that comes about with the programs. I know that that's something we're vetting. And I will tell you that we've actually reached out to all of, not all, but a number of schools in the area that actually have both programs. And we've committed to our teachers that we will take them to those schools so they can actually see it in play and then share that feedback with their colleagues about pros, cons, challenges. So that way, at the end of February, our goal is to have a reading curriculum selected. And that timeline's critical because if we were going into February with 5 options, we're supposed to give professional development to our teachers in June. How can we expect to do that if we obviously don't have time to take care of them? So I think that that's really important for all of us to understand, is that there's more people involved with the process. There's a strict timeline that we're trying to make sure that we set our teachers up for success. And that's going to be looking at this across the board. And again, obviously what the program that we had utilized may not have had the impact we were hoping to. So we'll continue along with those curriculum
And on
discussions.
November 21st, 2024, and also in the Education Week, it talked about that does this program have guaranteed results? Because it states that now most schools are going toward guaranteed results, meaning that the district only pays so much up front, and if the students don't reach their goal, then that program forfeits the rest of their money. However, the district has to make sure that the resources are available for the students. So that is a guarantee. Is that program, any one of those programs have a guarantee of success? Because it's quite obvious that over the past couple of years, we're not reaching that success level. So we need somebody who's going to guarantee that we're going to get that.
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's something obviously that we're looking to triangulate the data, meaning like we're going to be using different assessment tools to see if students are making progress. Right now, we have a number of assessment tools, but I don't think that they're being utilized in the way that we would hope, in the sense that we're not comparing to other students and grade levels across the state and even across the nation. So that's something that we've been having discussions about with NWEA and other assessment tools to really evaluate that. And that's a really good point from a contractual standpoint. If that is an option for us to say, if within 2 years we're not seeing growth that we would hope, I would certainly hope that we can back out of a contract. And I'll look for that in the future, because I think that we should have those guarantees. But remember, we have to implement things with fidelity. In order to implement with fidelity, we have to have the trainings necessary so our teachers are set up for success. Right? You can take the best program in the world, and Dr. Howard and I talked about it today, but if you don't have the charisma to teach the curriculum and the resources and the training that's necessary, it's not going to succeed. And that's something that we realized in the past there may have been gaps, so we're trying to obviously alleviate those gaps. But very good points.
All right, since we're on curriculum, I have another situation I want to bring up, maybe less contentious as that one. Dr. Howard, I can't see you, but this is to you. Blooket, 99 Math, and Ed Puzzles. Are those programs going away?
We have a list that we're working with for our teachers to make sure that the resources that we're using in classrooms are used across the board. We have several resources that are used in some classrooms and not all. So we have been working with the building leadership to look at those lists. They're not done, but we are looking at the lists.
So the feedback I'm getting, they are banned. And
Ed Puzzle is, because Ed Puzzle is a lot of putting kids on the computer in the classroom, and we want to get away from that and have more of the teacher interaction. So Ed Puzzle would be yes. Ed Puzzle actually we stopped using last year.
Okay. So who banned it? Who came up with that idea? Who approved it? Because we paid for it.
It's going to run out, and we used a lot of that during COVID and with the teaching. But now that we're back brick and mortar, we don't want to do as much of that.
And back to Blooket, 99 Math. Is there reasoning for?
I don't know about 99 Math. I cannot answer that one because I don't think that's on the list that we're still looking at. I know Ed Puzzle was last year.
I just know specifically from a 6th grade student that lives in my household.
Yeah.
She's very upset.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It
Nothing's
seemed
been
like
taken.
rewarding
Nothing's
for
been
them to use,
taken.
and
Yeah.
they enjoyed it. So I hate
Yeah.
to say we take away something that's educational,
right?
Enjoyment, because for me, I like it. I'm going to continue to do it, and I'm going to succeed.
We just have to look at things and make sure they're on grade level and that all the teachers are using it. So it's not just one classroom and the others. We have taken nothing away yet this year. We are looking at it still.
Just to piggyback that, I also got 6th grade feedback, especially on Blooket. Especially on Blooket.
Yeah. And we have to look at how it works with the math program we have. And is it helping us get the results that we want? So, those are the things we're looking at, but nothing this year. We're looking at it. Will it happen? Yes. There will be a list.
Does that come to us to make that decision, though? Like, do we make that? You make that proposal, and we say yes or no, based upon facts. I'm asking.
No, that wouldn't.
It just runs out.
It depends. We have to look at all of our resources and what we're using and what, we use a lot of the money from grants for this. We can't pay for everything. So we have to look at the resources that are being used, and are they being used across the district or across the grade level? Or is it just some teachers are doing this and supplementing with that and other teachers are doing this? We're trying to get some consistency with what's used and having it support our academic goals and the resources we're using. And some of them aren't doing that. So
That's a problem.
I'd be more than I could be more than happy to share it with you when we're done.
I encourage my 6th grader to actually contact you.
Awesome. I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. Well, I'm over there every morning, so tell her to grab me. I start the day there. All right.
She does.
Anyone else under curriculum? Okay.
Okay, moving on to operations, Mr. Smith.
Good evening. Tonight I'm seeking approval of item 26A.
So moved, Galler.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Galler, seconded by Mr. Kaczynski. Is there any discussion?
I don't want to discuss that.
I have a comment here. We'll be coming up this coming summer on facility availability. And so I would encourage all individuals, whether it's athletics or other activities, to stay informed about what's going to be happening during the renovation process. And there will be times when certain portions of the building, as a result of renovation, will not be readily available. And particularly those that are from outside the school community, our community at large that use our facility, you might have to make other plans or certainly change your schedules on how often you can use a particular facility or whether or not the facility will be available. So hopefully these individuals will be notified and that they have time to make other plans as necessary. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Conrad has instructed me and James Krasinski to reach out to these groups and keep them as updated as we can as this process goes along.
Was there someone else?
No, I want to talk afterwards.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Mr. Smell.
And that motion carries.
Mr. Smell. Question. Last time I was president, Mrs. Kresge and I asked about the carpet at PVE. What's the process? Where are we at on that?
Dr. Howard and I are going to get together and discuss that.
Is that something we hope to get done maybe over Christmas break, or is that something that has to be a summertime job? Or?
That would definitely have to be a summertime job.
Okay, and I know when I was there was water filters put on the water machine. What do you call them? The fountains for the kids to drink out of. Are those water fountains still being filtered with that water?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear that.
At the water fountains at PVE, there were filters put on them because of the dirt that was coming at them. Are there still filters on them? Are they being maintained?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, moving on to building reports. Our administration team here is here this evening. Thanks for being here as well. And is there anything that you would like to add to your report?
I would just say things at PVE honestly are actually inspirational. We've got a lot of great things happening.
Great. Mr. Papasel, I got a question for you. First of all, I want to tell you, make sure you pass on our congratulations to Jill Giofredo. She was Student of the Month. Yes. Appreciate that. I have a question. This is probably both you and PVI. What has happened with our learning? I know we don't call it LORO anymore. We call it tutoring or something like that. Usually that ran from October to May. And as of to date, I hear there is nothing at all for these kids that need help. I mean, what are we waiting for? I mean, I know we're saving money.
Dr.
I don't care
can
who
you
sponsors
address
it,
that?
but I want to know why we're not working with these kids who need it.
Yeah.
The money issue or what?
Sure, I can answer that. We posted for that. We did not get the turnout to offer it. So we went to tutoring. And the buildings that we had teachers that said that they would do the tutoring, we are having it. So we do it we need the teachers. So if they applied to do it, we're having it. We are not having it at the high school. We had no teachers applied to be tutors. We have the most at PVI.
So did you not call this a tutoring program, which that means it has to be a teacher? Because I was told that there was parents that applied for it and then told that they couldn't do it. Is that tutoring now just?
It's for the teachers, correct.
I can add a little bit more context to this.
I guess my whole thing is it's something should be done with these kids who need it. I mean, if we only have a couple of teachers, then let's take them and work with the kids that we can get in there until we get more teachers. I mean, not to keep pushing this program off. We're halfway through the year.
I can provide some context. So last year we ran the LRO, which is the Learning Recovery Opportunities Program. The program, we had paid teachers, I believe it was $57 an hour. $58 an hour, thanks. And what that entailed was that there would be, I believe it was like an hour of kind of prep time to get ready for it. Is that? Yes, and then they would instruct, and so obviously at $58 an hour, that is pretty substantial. And we had a conversation with our teachers and with our union, saying, listen, this is through a grant money, and so of course we want to make sure that we put value to their efforts. Because we're not running that through grant dollars, that's being run through the general fund. The amount had dropped down to, what was it, $35. And so unfortunately, I think with the decrease to $35, we didn't get as many individuals as we were hoping to support the students. And again, we can't run a program if we don't have that support after school. And I think, we have a number of teachers that are, coaching and doing other things after school. And I think, people just have to weigh decisions. It is unfortunate. And so we've pivoted from that LRO program as we ran last year to modify it ever so slightly, but I think we only have about 2 or 3 teachers per building.
PVI has a few more.
Okay, yeah. I think it was like 2 in some of the others.
None at the high school.
Mr. Papazelli, you only have 2 or 3 that signed up for that program? Because that's not what I heard.
4.
0 at the high school. What was the middle school?
2.
1 at the high school or middle school? I'm sorry.
Sorry,
and then 1, and then Pete. So that's 1 and 3. That's 4.
I believe 7.
And how many at PVI? About
maybe 7.
Okay, so we're talking 11 total teachers in the district.
So we have 11, so we couldn't
$58,
help anybody.
the $58, just so you know, that was out of the ESSER grants that came
Right,
out
I
of
understand
COVID,
that.
and
I
it
know we
was
have a hard time
specifically for
finding
learning
$35
loss,
an hour.
and we don't have that anymore.
That's right.
So we tried, we really did. We think it's great for people to stay after the buildings that have teachers that signed up. We're going to do it, and we've been meeting about it. We have the busing signed, the busing ready to go. Met with the principals this week. They said, let us prep our teachers. We're going to be ready to go when we come back in January. So yes.
And how long does it run? Is it running January to May?
Yeah, to the end of the year, yes.
So May. Okay.
And if more teachers decide they want to do it as the year progresses, we will hire them and proceed. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely encourage if they have time in their schedule and they can support the students that are struggling, please let us know and we'll move forward with adding those individuals. So, all right. That was PVE. I guess I want to skip PVI. So, Sabrina. That's all right.
Stellar things are happening at PVI. And just on the actual tutoring, we actually had our meeting this morning with the teachers who had signed up for it.
Great.
And they're really excited for it. So
awesome.
I think it'll be really nice.
Great. Thanks. What about the middle school? Anything?
Multiple things are happening at the middle school. We hope to see show up for
Excellent. Thanks. And then high school.
excited to be traveling to high school. And just like Mr. McCutcheon said, we're excited for next week for our art show, horse concert, and fair concert.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
Mr. Boyle, you said on November 20th, you had the Rachel Challenge, and you said the opportunity to sign up. How many did you actually have signatures from kids who signed up for that Rachel Challenge?
We were actually still waiting for the banner actually got lost.
So there was no signatures yet? Okay. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to business management. Mrs. Smale.
How about Bear Academy?
Oh, goodness. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Voorhees, you said that if the students in your school, they need school physicals or dentists, have anybody gone forward and taken up on it? Who pays for that? Do they have to pay for it themselves? Is something the district's covering?
It's done the same exact way the buildings are done. So for instance, sometimes schools do pay for physicals for like athletes and stuff like that. They can take part of that as well. Oh, no, even better. There you go.
Because I oversee the nurses, as you all know. So we do school physicals. They were done in the fall. They do go through the list of all the kids registered, reach out to the parents, get permission slips signed. St. Luke's sent to PAs here in November, because that's when we do school physicals. The dental van comes around, same procedure as with the physicals. The school nurses figure out who needs what, and then the kids get their teeth checked. Last year, we also added the service that if a child needed minor work done, minor cavity, things of that sort, parent can come or fill out the paperwork and we can take care of that for them. So I handle setting all that stuff up with my nurses in St. Luke's.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Business management, Mrs. Bell.
I am requesting approval of items 28B through 28E.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kaczynski, seconded by Mrs. Surface. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mrs. Snell, can you explain how they do the free breakfast, like at PVE, or is that something Mr. Papacello? Like, how do these kids get their breakfast at PVE?
PVE, I believe, is still breakfast in the classroom.
It's
Yes.
delivered to the classroom.
You're not doing it in the classroom anymore? Okay.
It's what?
What the first period special kids get it in the classroom, the rest are at the bus, they get it right away. And after like 10 minutes, then they go to the, one of the buses is late, most of the kids in the cafeteria, but they're running late, they go to the classroom.
So they're getting their meals at the classroom.
One family is the rest part.
Okay, and then how is that recorded? That it reports we get so many free breakfasts. How does that report it that we know how many people are getting it?
When the students get their breakfast, they swipe. They get a meal, they go to the register, they swipe. Same for breakfast, same for lunch. And then the swipe is an electronic count.
They're not placed outside their door and they give it to them when they come in.
We did classroom breakfast at the beginning of the year
Okay.
until the students got used to everything. And it's up to the building principals how they want their meals served. I don't dictate that.
Mr. Papacello wants steak and potatoes.
What works best for their buildings is how the meals or how breakfast would be served. We started out with breakfast in the classroom. It looks like we moved to it not being in the classroom
Yeah.
now.
No, I was just wondering when he said to the classroom, that's why I was wondering about how there might be other issues with pets that might come to visit. That's what I was.
The only reason that family eats in the classroom, those kids have first period, especially to the music, and then out,
Right.
get them, walk the bus, eat, go to class, and I want them as much time as possible. They don't have to walk it down.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
I am also requesting approval of item 29B.
So moved, Galler.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Galler, seconded by Mr. Kaczynski. Is there any discussion? Hearing of none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries. Under new business, Mr. Fitzgerald.
There's no additional report this evening.
Thank you. Pleasant Valley citizens, is there anyone that would like to address the board this evening? Please come to the podium, state your name and the township you reside in, and there is the 3-minute limit.
Hi, Ann Gravel, Polk Township. I've been taking notes. It's scary that if the teachers are making this decision and if Mr. Kaczynski is correct, one of them is useless as a teaching tool. I'm scared for the teachers or our students. Obviously, we're not hiring the best if they pick something that's that bad. Secondly, assessments. I spoke about this last week. How many more assessments can you possibly take on these kids? If the teacher is that bad and they can't figure out what kid's struggling, what kid isn't, how many more assessments do you possibly need? When do these teachers get to teach these kids? And again, I'm going to go back. A recommendation from PASBO is not law, okay? If we want term limits, then maybe you should guys listen to us for once, okay? I knew it was going to pass. I said it when I was up here. You had no intention of taking that back. So obviously none of you want to listen to us, and then you wonder why we all get frustrated and upset. I'm sorry I haven't been here the last 2 years, but I was also working on the solar for Polk Township. I can't be everywhere at once. I am one darn person, okay? And when I come here, only thing I get, you do what the hell you want. You don't listen to anyone in this audience, ever. and you approved it anyway. Thank you.
Hi, Denise Hopley, Chestnut Hill Township. The administration team, your administration team building activity over the summer at the racetrack raises serious questions. What kind of legitimate team building can happen at a racetrack? Additionally, the receipts for the expenses. Why was the district money and time allocated for an off-site building activity instead of finding opportunities within our own community? Was taxpayer money used for this, or was it St. Luke's money used for our students? What kind of message does this send to our students and the community about building morale? Did you really need to take a team to a racetrack in Allentown? Meanwhile, many families are struggling to afford basic necessities like heat and food, yet our administration staff is taken to a racetrack with their meals reimbursed. This is unacceptable. In the next team building activity, are you going to go to an MMA fight? Last year's choice involved weapons, and this was a racetrack. There seems to be an alarming escalation here, and it's no wonder our students feel unsafe in the school. How much will the next activity cost taxpayers who are already grappling with high costs for food, medicine, heat, shelter, and clothing? This culture of excess must change. I've read that Dr. Conrad has resigned and you accepted it. Will you adhere to district policy and initiate a proper search for other qualified candidates? How can we be assured Conrad was the most qualified candidate for PV? This needs to be established transparently. Will stakeholders have a voice in this process? And will Conrad's contract be discussed? If not, is it when? What about the rest of the administration staff? Why aren't stakeholders being considered in evaluating their performance? Are we reverting back to the good old boys club mentality, effectively stifling any chance for real change? The stakeholders in this district have already endured enough of this outdated good old boys club approach. It's time to shift towards accountability and a community engagement. Remember, we lost a great number of veteran teachers that felt the students' educational needs were not being met because of things your administration either put in place or refused to help. By the way, need I add, inexperienced young administration that said you will teach them and you gave them significant salaries despite their inability to do the job.
Janet Dooner, Polk Township again. And Dr. Conrad, I see that you have comments coming, so I don't know what's going to come, but what I'd like to say is thank you to Mr. Galler for the letter that you did read in this meeting. And Mr. Fitzgerald, we were explained that at the last meeting about the resignation being put up, and then it was explained, and it made sense that it had to be that way, but the events surrounding that night didn't need to be that way. And Sue, thank you for your apology that night. You did take ownership of that night, and we did ask why it wasn't prepared for ahead of time, because it seemed like there was enough agendas handed to the people who waited outside for an hour to get in. We're not going to relive all that. I thank Mr. Galler for the letter that he wrote. His words were very, very good. Thank you. And basically, one truth is behind this, and the public may not know it. Will have to be left to uncover it on their own, or will be perception of that reality. And one of my first employers, my first manager, said to me, always remember that people's perception is their reality. And I think the community is suffering from that. We've suffered from this for 8 years since COVID. We have a lot of social media putting things in people's heads. We may not always know how to react as people. I suffer from it sometimes too. But from you, Dr. Conrad, we expected better. And what good is your what good is your word if the written word of that contract wasn't good? I wrote this down. For 3 days, I've been reading your contract, reading the case study for the no, not the term limits. I went through that too, but the Sunshine Act, and knowing that we were stuck here because nobody understood. Yes, you can move something from your agenda. You can't add something to agenda. We were all taken aback that night. So I guess this is just your action or inaction. Dr. Conrad has placed the people, and it's harmed our elected representatives. I value each of you that are here. I value our elected school board members who are volunteers in the state of Pennsylvania, at least this section of Pennsylvania. And I'd like to keep it that way, so I don't want to abuse their time by that action that happened last week. There will come a time that I might speak up even about Student of the Month. I hate to ruin that, but again, these are our elected officials who are working for the people. All of these people are our salaried people who are paid by tax dollars, and we appreciate them. We can even appreciate you, Dr. Conrad, if we can build trust. And I don't know what's going to happen. I can't read that. But I think Student of the Month takes up a lot of time on our elected people, and we have a big project that is coming up. And I even think to the point where Mr. Kozicki brought up about the citizens being involved in another policy, and I did write that down. Okay, I'll go.
Okay,
I'll speak. I know, it's time to go home.
No, not to see.
You should clarify that with
Yeah.
everybody.
Just for clarification, we do not have a working session this evening. Where the warmth was, right? Okay, go ahead.
That's okay. Teresa Grego, Chestnut Hill Township. I'm jumping all over because I have all these notes from tonight, but I just wanted to say I was very disappointed to hear that our Let's Go Bears guy was maybe moving on. And I thought, I was part of making that contract for 5 years. So not to honor it for 5 years, I was very disappointed in that. So I said, well, what's one snapshot that I can just bring to the table tonight? And I really appreciate the presentation from the Bears Academy. Being a numbers girl, when I was on this board, numbers never jived, they never added up. And it's like, oh, well, it depends where you get them from. But the 380 or whatever that you said tonight was different than what the board report enrollment is. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, I went back, Dr. Conrad, your first board meeting with us was December 16th, 2021. So I went back to compare, what is the state of the district 3 years later? Okay, so we changed the name, it was the PVCA, now it's the Bears Academy. We thought if we change the name, maybe more people will come. It's a whole different program. You did tonight say something like 700 people during COVID. Yeah, BLN. That was during COVID. It was like 673. I'm going by memory from when I was looking up this information. But back in 2021, there was 251 in our Cyber Academy. There are 243 listed today. That's down 8 from 3 years ago. We still have over 400 in outside charters. Yes, we've come down 56. We have come down in 3 years, but we're still over 400. We have 10 more in private schools, and our brick and mortar is actually 63 less than it was 3 years ago. So again, this is just a snapshot that an ordinary citizen can get on there, go to the enrollment reports, and just compare. So I say thank you, Mr. Galler. So I from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. And I say, if you guys are the only 9 in this community that would like to break a 5-year contract, make it 3 and give them all this money, take the pulse of the community and rethink what you're going to do. Mr. Galler, you summed it up very nicely. Dr. Conrad, I think you're on a really good step forward, but there is so much more work to be done here. And I applaud you. Stay, follow out the 5 years, and let's see where we are then. When it comes to the reading program, first grade teacher of 34 years, there might not be one reading program across the board from K to 12. So maybe you need to look at what's best for K to 2 is not best for 3 to 5. And Dr. Conrad, yes, we've done extensive times where our teachers got together and we did roll over what happens at this grade to this grade to this grade. We did that years ago, but that has to be done.
Teresa.
So I'm glad you're doing that. Okay. All right. I'm going to step down and pop right back up for 1 second. Anybody else need to go?
Thank you.
I just have
Okay, go ahead.
one more comment. Teresa Grego, Chestnut Hill. 905, please check that out. We listen to Ron Reynolds come to this meeting every single week asking for it. I asked for it. It's not the same as the operations. It's not a dialogue at that operations meeting. You need this policy. We have the policy, we just don't follow it. So if it's there, let's fulfill it, and please look at that. Adapt it to what we need to do, Sue, by looking at that language. Okay? Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Anyone else? Wasn't sure if he was.
Hi, my name is Tanner Kutzler, and I'm from Chestnut Hill Township. I'm a student of Pleasant Valley High School, and I wanted to address a problem that I've been having with the administrators of the school for the past 2 years. It's regarding the flag salute policy and the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. There's a big discrepancy between the board policy and the handbook policy, along with the Constitution of the United States for a citizen. I'm going to read the two policies. I'm going to point out what the problem is. The board policy reads, students may decline to recite the Pledge of Allegiance or national anthem and to salute the flag on the basis of personal belief or religious conviction. Students who choose to refrain from such participation shall respect the rights and interests of classmates who do participate. The handbook policy states, it is the responsibility of every citizen to show proper respect to his or her country and its flag. However, students may decline to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and may refrain from saluting the flag on the basis of personal beliefs or religious convictions. Students who choose to refrain from such participation shall respect the rights and interests of classmates who do wish to participate in a meaningful ceremony. A student who chooses not to participate may either stand or sit, remaining respectfully silent. The handbook policy, when it says that you may stand or sit, it kind of restricts the freedom that you have to protest the flag, and that's where the problem comes in. I was walking in the hallway one day, it was about 2 months ago, I want to say, and a teacher asked me to stop because it was during the Pledge of Allegiance. I respectfully said, it's within my rights to continue walking, and she told me that I must stop. So I stopped, I had a conversation with her about it, and end of conversation, she was like, all right, go to your class, have a good day. I came into school the next day, and my first period teacher told me that I had a in-school suspension. I was never informed of that beforehand by email or anything, but so I went to in-school suspension. I talked with the administration about it, and they said, let's go to the board about it. I think that if you look at similar cases throughout history, we can go to Tinker versus Des Moines during the Vietnam War when 2 students wore armbands in protest of the war. The school tried to prevent them from doing that. The 2 students sued the school, and they won the case through the Supreme Court of the United States. I don't think it's right to restrict our students' rights to protest, especially when it's not lewd, vulgar, or distracting other students. I never got in the way of other students, and I never prevented them from exercising their rights. And I would just appreciate if you guys were able to review the policy, try to find a grounds where students can express themselves to the extent that they would like to, without obviously it becoming lewd or vulgar or disruptive. And yeah, so that's been a problem for me recently. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one approach the podium, Pleasant Valley School Directors, does anyone have anything this evening?
I've got a couple items. I'd like to go back, Dr. Howard, when you were talking about LRO. I just want to confirm a few things. So last year, we were still using ESSER funds for that. Okay. And when we were using ESSER funds, just to clarify, that's meaning it's coming from a grant that's not costing our taxpayers any money because it's obviously through a grant. Last year, when we had the LRO running, how many teachers were involved? Ballpark? Not even a ballpark? And that was at a rate of $60 some an hour. How much?
58.
58. Okay. And now this year, the rate was reduced to, which is how much an hour? 35 an hour. And we have how many teachers that came out for it?
12.
12?
That's what we said. 11, 12, when they added it.
That's all noted on that.
Can I just can I piggyback, Mr. Keller, on that?
Sure.
Okay. Before the LRO program, what did we have? Mr. Pompacella?
We had a program called Step One.
And it was done after school? Okay, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Keller.
I was just trying to make sure everybody's aware of where the monies were coming from, at what rate, and what we're paying now, and where the money's coming from now. Mhm. Sure. But what I'm trying to I want to make sure our community understands that was out of grant monies at that higher rate. Now, when we don't have the grant monies available, it's in our general budget, we had to lower the rate. And I just want to point out what the turnout in teachers were at that point. That's all. Second item I have here, from some of my community members, questions about the Google form that gets submitted into the superintendent for questions. I don't know who can answer this, but as a recipient, when you send something on a Google form, is there something that's coming back, like a marked receipt saying that it was sent and received by recipient? I don't know who's going to answer this, but I hope somebody can.
And I can answer it. Google Forms have a setting when you set them up to actually have it so it can do that. I do not know about the particular setting for that form that you're speaking of.
So can we have something set up so it automatically generates that to the community members sending it?
Yeah, so it'll automatically respond back to them your responses on that form, basically letting you know that you submitted yes.
Okay, so hopefully community members that had questions on that are hearing that right now. So we will have that set up. You will get a receipt saying that that was received on PV's end. The last thing I have for my comments are, I've had community members coming to me about accessibility and how we respond back to people. One, we have the Google form enacted for Dr. Conrad to be able to respond directly. We put that in forth. Second thing is, and I've always done this and we've said it how many times, we're available after board meetings. How many people stick around and talk to us? We've made ourselves available in the past prior to meetings. We had an hour. Nobody showed up. We set aside then a half hour. Nobody showed up. The last thing's the email. I just want to reiterate on the emails. When you email and you include all of us in an email and somebody responds back, it's business. The only person that can respond back when you email all of us is the board president. You want to get a response, email us directly. I just want to point that out because I'm hearing people complaining, we email the board, they don't get back to us. I'm giving you some insight on this. If we operate in more than 3 people, it's business. We can't even go out in the community. I mean, heck, if we want to go out and have a beer together, we all can't. Well, we can't have a beer. But seriously, people don't understand. Anytime it involves over 3 of us, it's business. So it's not like we're trying to blow you guys off on stuff with these emails, but you need to understand that. I've helped out several community members. They've emailed me directly. I was able to go to Dr. Conrad or other personnel there and be able to work with them on that. But you got to be able to understand how it works. We can't get back to you and be conducting business. I go back to 3 years ago. We were in a very dark place. I just want you guys to remember that we've come a long way. We've come a long way with Dr. Conrad, with the board the way it is here. We've made ourselves way more accessible than it's been for as long as I can remember. But to sit here and listen to the community harping on us about not being accessible or not being here for you guys or not listening to you, I call BS. You have to understand how it works. And that's what I'm trying to explain it to you guys. We are here for you, but know the proper channels to go through with it. And we will support you. Beyond that, I just want to say have a great evening. Have a great holiday, everyone.
Anyone else this time?
Yeah. Ms. Harris, I know I probably missed this, but can you give me an update on the BHA and Polk? Are we nearing that, or is that going to be next year? Or what?
So their inspection with the state is this week, where the state will come into Polk and look at the rooms that they staged. Right now, they have 2 full classrooms that we're housing at PVE temporarily till after the holiday break. They did hire a third teacher and staff for that room who are currently training with the veteran staff in the 2 open classrooms. So they're doing great out there. I've gotten positive feedback from the staff at PVE, from the parents, things of that sort.
But are we moving? Are we going to move to Polk then over Christmas break, or is that going to be?
They will be moving to Polk after the Christmas break.
Okay.
At some point, we had to wait for the state to come in because the state had to
Yeah.
inspect their space.
I know you were telling us that we wouldn't do it either halfway or at the end. That's I just wondering if we had something.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to do it in more of a natural break instead
Right,
of just
correct.
like on a random Wednesday, because
Very, yes.
the
Appreciate
children that they teach, it would just throw them off.
that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one other thing. The Hall of Fame committee will be meeting on Monday. We have 7 first-year nominations and 5 second-year nominations. No third year, so all the third year have even been picked. Yeah. So, thank you, Mr. K.
Is that a good number, John?
It's up. Is it
It's
not?
up.
Yes, it's
It is up?
One was
Okay.
previous. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, to piggyback on what Mr. Gallagher was talking about, is it possible for us to set up instead of a messaging to the superintendent, but it's a messaging to the entire board? So that message goes to all of us at the board, and then it's addressed at the board meeting, just as Dr. Conrad was. Because I get it, there's so many emails that we get, and I want to jump in and say something, but again, I know I can't, because that's, as you said, it's discussing business. So is that something we could set up and have it as an opportunity to give feedback to the community that is coming to us as board members?
During the meeting?
Yep.
How about during work session?
Still a meeting.
Well, I
It's-
understand,
I
but
don't care
it's,
when we do it, but
that's-
it's giving the feedback back. So we have to come up with some type of system to
Mhm.
accept the feedback, give it, and then 360 right back.
can we, again, add that to the work session to discuss?
I'm fine with that.
Is that all right?
I'm bringing up the idea.
Yeah, I understand.
To see-
So can we
get it out
add
there.
that to the work session as an idea to discuss?
I think that could also segue into what John was talking about earlier about that community committee. That might be something that could segue.
Just 2 quick things, sorry. Ms. Zip wants to mention something, and to go
Oh.
back on the Google form, just a quick update. Currently, that Google form does not collect email addresses. It's set up to be anonymous, so people can they can do their comments. The problem is, for us to send a receipt back to the recipient, the person who sent it, we would have to make it so it collects their email address. So it may be something we want to consider, whether or not we want to turn off that function and have it go back to those people, or if we want to keep it anonymous. But we can't have both.
Let me ask you this. So you can, obviously, I understand the anonymous part of it, but when you submit, does it not say successfully submitted and give you some type of on-screen display?
Yes.
Notification
Yes, it does give the immediate notification of you've submitted the form.
to confirm that it did go through, so it's not just like I clicked it, where'd it go?
Yes, if the concern was that people were not sure whether or not what they were doing was actually being seen or going through or being received, they do provide that feedback immediately, but they do not receive a copy back to their email unless we have it collect their email address.
So then my question is, James, when you get your correspondence, how do you know who they're from? Because you're saying who they're from each time. Are they signing their name at the bottom?
I believe on the form, so I can show you, I have a spreadsheet, and it has the individual, their name, the township, and then the question that they're asking. And so.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So
when they
in
submit
an
a
effort
question.
for all of us to be transparent, why wouldn't we want to know who it's coming from? And get that, and as a recipient, you get the timestamp receipt back. Just saying.
Anyone else? I would just like to make one comment to a comment that was made earlier.
One second, sorry, Ms. Zip did have
I'm
said
sorry.
something. Ms.
Oh,
Zip.
Mel, forgot. Thank you. That's okay.
I do want to say just a couple of things. I think, and Jan mentioned it, I just want to say a couple things on the term limits. In general, I agree with term limits in general. Where I struggle a little bit with this position is it is, I understand it's an elected position, right? It's not like a traditional paid position. The challenge with, I think, with this position in general, right, is that in order to have one of those positions, like the president or the vice president or the treasurer, I feel like there's a lot of time that's required there during administrative hours at the school district, right? And for me, and other people that are more restricted during the day because our work hours aren't flexible, like I wouldn't be able to do, I appreciate what you're saying, right? But I wouldn't be able to serve the board in that kind of capacity, right? So there is some limits there because there are, I mean, it requires a good deal of time, I feel like, after school, during business hours, and some of us can support the board in that capacity. So I do want to say that. But I also want to say, you know, the president of the board can't make decisions on their own, right? They preside over monthly meetings, make sure the committees have people on them, and we are committee of the whole, so we're all there anyway. And then, you know, they represent the board, the whole board, in their communications, right? Like they're the person that represents what the board has decided and signs documentation on behalf of the board. Like they can't really do anything on their own without input and agreement from the board. So I just want to put that out there because I do think, I don't want people to think, I mean, there are some, like people have to have the ability to get to school and support the board in that capacity. And that is somewhat of a limiting factor. You don't have 9 people that can do that. So I did just want to put that out there. And then there was someone out there that made a comment that I want to correct it because it was wrong. And that is that I joined the board in December 2021. And at that time, the contracts were all expired. And Sue Craig was not present when that happened, nor was she present the year before that. So I just wanted that to be clear. That's not what happened, and that's what was stated there. And then there's one other thing. I just want to go back and restate that the board did not accept a resignation from James. Just because I thought I heard that comment come back after Mark had spoken earlier, so I do just want to clarify that we did not have on our agenda that was one of the items that was being, we did not accept a resignation from him. And that's it.
Thank you, Mel. I did write a number of things down that I did want to comment about. And actually, Mr. Galler and Mrs. Zip just took a number of those. No, that's fine. A number of those. I do just want to continue on the comment that Mrs. Zip did start about the contract that when Dr. Conrad, the first evening, our very first board meeting was actually reorganization, if I remember correctly, here.
Yeah.
And we were up there, though.
Yeah.
We were up there. And so it was reorganization. I did become president that evening. And we were also served a strike notice from the professional staff that evening that they were going to go on strike. So I want it to be known that we worked very diligently with the new board, and Mr. Galler, Mrs. Surface were on that committee. Mr. Berger was on that committee also. And we worked in a very timely manner to get all the contracts negotiated and approved. So it is incorrect that we didn't do that. We did it. So I just wanted to clarify that statement also. Anyone else? Okay, Dr. Conrad, superintendent. Oops, one more. She's.
I'm sorry, I forgot just one more one more statement about the whole president thing. What also is a challenge, and I know that you guys, you staff already said it and you heard it. Also, being representative of the board means that you're really trying to take it and beat it. I mean, they're trying to coordinate 9 people, 8 additional people, right? They're doing a lot of work trying to coordinate meetings and everything, and also you can take a good deal of a good deal of not positive energies, because people certainly are busted down the doors of the school board meeting to tell us how wonderful things are going. So I mean, that's another challenge, right? Is really trying to find someone who is willing to put themselves in that position all the time, because it's exhausting. And I again thank Sue for really trying to take it heat for really us as a whole.
Okay, Mel. Okay. All right, thank you. Dr. Conrad.
So good evening, everyone. I'm looking down in front of me, and there are just a ton of notes that I have. And as is normal, I think it's probably best to go off the cuff a little bit. There's a couple of things that I wanted to say, and certainly I'll have hopefully an opportunity to say them and articulate them the way that I think are true and genuine, and something that maybe you can understand. One thing that I just written down, I made a comment to myself that says, when things aren't said, misinterpretations occur. And as I was writing that down, I was thinking, but there's also sometimes that things are said that might not be factual and might not, be all of the details. And first off, I think I can start by just saying, I appreciate you all being here tonight. And for those of you that have met with me and have talked to me till 12 o'clock at night in months and years past, to those of you that we had a conversation right after the board meeting, right? Because I value your time and I need to understand where you're coming from so I can genuinely, we can try to work together and I can understand your perspectives, right? And so I appreciate, it's 10 o'clock at night. We're all here. Everyone has work tomorrow. And again, I'll try not to belabor everything. But I truly mean that when I appreciate you being here tonight, because you're here for a reason. And, you're here hopefully to seek understanding. But I also am a realist, and I understand that sometimes there are situations that no matter what you say and how articulate as you can be, you can't change the hearts and minds of people, okay? And that's a hard thing for me to accept, because I try to take time to get to understand different perspectives, and I know that sometimes we'll agree to disagree. But I've done a lot of reflecting since last Monday, and a lot of reflecting over Thanksgiving. And another thing that I had written down, and something that I just keep on saying over and over again, is that trust takes time. I had asked, there was about 80 or so people that were at the last board meeting, and I apologize that we didn't know that it was going to be that large. Again, we hear that there's going to be some people coming, but I don't want people to feel that they don't have the opportunity to come or have to sit out in the cold. So I personally apologize for that. I didn't think it was going to be to that degree. But when I asked people at the end of the meeting, I said, how many people have been to a meeting recently? The reason I asked that question isn't ever to be disrespectful. It's to gauge my audience. It's to understand, okay, have we met before? Have we had dialogue and conversations? And if we haven't, maybe there's an opportunity for something to begin. I met with a parent that literally was at that meeting on Thursday or last Monday, and I met with her for an hour and a half today. 2 kids in the district, one kid in the district, one to be coming to the district. We had a great conversation because we talked about some of the challenges, but we also talked about growth. And we know we haven't, we're not where we want to ultimately be. But I would say if I reflect back from when I started here in December of 2021, there's been a lot of positive changes. Maybe not every change is perfect, right? But again, that idea, I really want that to totally resonate with you, is that trust takes time. And it's how much are you investing into building the trust and relationship so we can at least have a respectful dialogue? There was a lot to process that night, right? I walked in and expected something, let's just be frank. And that didn't happen. So I think that shock and awe is something that I was trying to internalize. But maybe this wasn't as articulate because I do try to seek to learn and to listen. I needed to really take in what the community was saying. What were the concerns? There were very valid concerns. And again, I appreciate those concerns being brought to the table. And sometimes it's hard to address an entire public as it is, compared to like one or two people that we can have a conversation. Because I truly think the flavor of the conversation is often different when you have 88 people that have one frustration that they want to share versus a few parents or individuals or teachers or whomever that have concerns. I did try to answer some of your questions, and here's the thing. I said this today to the board. I don't think I realized that up until this very evening, this was a missed opportunity on my part. Because one thing I didn't realize, and I apologize for not realizing this, is that I believe that part of the challenge that I was experiencing on Monday was, does this community believe in me? What's the rationale for continuity? Why are we doing something sooner than later? Things of that nature, right? And I tried as best as I could, at least in the mind frame that I'm in, and put yourself in my shoes for a minute if you can, but just trying to, answer those questions that I think you had asked. We've seen a lot of growth in this district. And I've committed since day one, even before I sat in this seat on that first evening, that I am absolutely dedicated to Pleasant Valley. And I've never wavered from that. I come in every day. I wake up at 4 a.m. when I need to because there's a snow squall and we have to make sure that our kids and buses and everything's safe. But I'm committed to Pleasant Valley. And in reflection, I feel like my silence made some of you question, is he committed? What's this intention? Why is he resigning? I can tell you right now, I absolutely was like, I don't want to resign. I don't understand, why we have to resign to rehire. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. Because it's the furthest thing, and I literally quote this, it's the furthest thing that I ever had in my thought with Pleasant Valley. We've seen some great progress, and I'm committed to continuing that progress. And I'm committed to working with the board. If I didn't answer your question, or if you have additional questions or want to engage in dialogue, you can call me, you can meet me, you can email me. I emailed about 3 parents this evening that had questions at 6 o'clock, or I think it was probably 5:30 because we had executive session, but just trying to make sure that people get the answers that I can reach out to. And there are some times, as we were talking about, where sometimes people will reach out to the board and not me, and so I'm not privy to that, which is okay, maybe that's the intention, but if you reach out to me, I can promise you you're gonna get a response. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's your call, but I'm gonna respond to you because you have questions and I wanna answer those. Again, I apologize because I feel in reflection that I didn't articulate my commitment since day one and 10 years out of how committed I am to this district and how much I am proud of and PV proud of the great things that are happening here. I believe this board wants me to be here. I think that our administration team, I think our teachers want to see this progress. I think too often we've seen so much changeover in everything, not just at Pleasant Valley, any district. There's changeover, and change is good, but change can also be challenging, and it can be volatile because it's just a bouncing ball that you're constantly following, and that could be very challenging as well. But I do want to at least leave you with this tonight. As the superintendent and the proud superintendent of Pleasant Valley School District, every day that I've come and every day that I continue to come to Pleasant Valley, I'm committed to this district. I'm committed to our family and community. And most importantly, and I really mean this, I'm committed to the success of each and every student. And I understand that there's some people that might have various opinions. They might not have kids in the district currently, or maybe they've graduated. But as a community, our kids are our future. And I'm committed to making sure that we are giving them the best resources, tools to be successful, to articulate themselves the way that we know that they can. And honestly, I've seen greatness coming from every graduation class that I have personally been at, and I've seen the students make such great progress because of each and every individual person that's in this room, whether a parent, community member, staff member, security that makes a recommendation on a student of the month. Every one of us has a mark that we're going to make on a student. And as I've been leaving you with board meetings, I really wonder, what is the mark that we're going to leave with students, and ultimately what's the mark that we're going to leave with one another? So I encourage you, if there's questions that you have or you want to sit with me, send me an email, call me. I take the time because I want to make sure you have the answers. I did want to pivot real quick because I did want to, again, clarify something that was stated, and I don't want to not say it because then it might be misinterpreted. Going back to that team building situation, that was not paid for by the taxpayers. Like, unequivocally, I will show you the receipt. Come and see me. It was not paid by the taxpayers, and it's team building. Every person that has coached a team, everybody that's been part of a team, everybody that's part of a work team, team building is important. And I'll tell you what, in the last 3 years, when I first came here, first word I've always heard was the culture and climate is toxic. It is a revolving door. We don't trust anyone. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but I will say that the level of trust, in my opinion, has greatly increased. But as I said before, trust takes time. And I'm going to ask those of you, I can't change all your perspectives and minds if you have a fixed mindset. But if you're open to dialogue and would like to know how I feel or what you feel that I can help to do that's going to better provide opportunities for our students, I'm all ears, because I want to make sure that PV continues to be an excellent place for work, education for our community, and I'm committed. So I just want to share that with all of you. And again, please reach out to me, call me, set up a meeting, we can talk. It's a little bit easier from my perspective that way. And I apologize in my silence. I think a lot of really what I was trying to do was take it all in and really understand the perspectives, the frustration, and the validity, because there is, with the concerns of the community. But I'm here, and I've been here, and I will remain here to answer anything that you have with questions or concerns. The dialogue that we have here at the board meeting is great. I appreciate all of our board members because you all bring perspectives and uniqueness that's going to add to the success in Pleasant Valley. So again, I appreciate your time. I hope I wasn't too long-winded. I know I can be sometimes, but I truly believe in Pleasant Valley. I believe in our staff and our students, in our community and our parents. So with that being said, I appreciate you being here, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Conrad. I want to wish all of our musical and our band and our chorus and all that's going to happen next week. Unfortunately, I'm gone next week, so I'm not going to be able to make any of those performances.
We'll send you pictures.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yes, we'll send you
That would be
pictures.
great.
We'll be there.
But I wish them all the luck and enjoy. And again, our next meeting is a special meeting, as I spoke before, and hopefully one item on the agenda. It's December 16th. Yeah, December 16th. I know someone asked about the time. Again, we changed the time to 6 p.m. because that was the will of the board when we discussed it, just because it's a one item agenda. We want to get in and get out. And so it was the will of the board to set it at 6 p.m. So, all right, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Okay. Safe travels home, everyone. Sleep fast, as they say, if you have to get up in the morning.